Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening. Today we're gonna explore ops. You got it? Special ops, black ops, and what they have to do with the moles, whatever you want to call it. But we're gonna do that by asking a question. I'm not making an accusation. I just come with the questions. That's all. Question is: do Hebrew Israelites, Moors, Pan Africans, I should say, and Pan Africans have a hidden agenda? Do they? Well, we're going to examine behavior to make that intellectual assessment. Um, so um, let's deal with Hebrew Israelites. So, Wani, do you think Hebrew Israelites have a hidden agenda?
Yes, and it kind of pops out in different ways. I first noticed them going against the Ashkenazi and the Sephardic Jews, people that had made some passes through Europe, and they considered them not to be Jewish, which is true. Um, they had seemed to have less hostility toward the Jewish people in Israel, and even wanted to go live there, and even did go live there, even though they got expelled for the most part. But they seem to have an anger toward Jewish people you might find in immigrant communities that had come there from Europe. So that's number one. They started to ratchet up and be kind of making terrorist moves toward Jewish people. So that's another aspect of them. And they also seem to find their way in a lot of these rooms and spaces, wanting to talk about their beliefs and trying to get us to believe it. And when we push back, they abandon some of these principles that we're known uh, to know about them, like the 12 tribes scenario. They'll say, oh, no, we don't believe in that part. So when we question them on some of these things, they'll back up off of them and will deny that they believe in those things. So they're kind of breaking off into sects and pretty much falling apart and joining up with other fringe groups like Moors and Pan-Africans and anything with immigrants in it. So they're all over the place right now. Not the way that they initially started off from my vantage point.
Yeah, I look at things from a different point of view. I look at history as a historian. One fact of history that just is never escaped me that nobody ever talks about is Dr. King's mother was assassinated by an alleged Hebrew Israelite. What was that about? Um, Dr. King's mother, for those you don't know, was assassinated by a guy whose last name was Chenault, and he was uh, an alleged Hebrew Israelite. Um, he served. He almost got sentenced to death for shooting King's mother, but ended up serving life in prison. He died of a stroke in the '90s. But that kind of caught my attention. You have to look at actions, and I have had several of my family members be involved with that organization. And although I'm not going to profess to be uh, know everything about it, what I've seen has given me pause. Um, Now we've talked about the Moors before, and we've come to a conclusion due to some of our scholars, Moorish scholars in here, that um, the Moors were involved with the destruction of the sale and destruction of the American uh, Black American freedmen. Um, they were traders of enslaved Africans, and you know uh, they didn't want to be identified with the rest of us. Could you tell me, wanting more about how the Moors didn't want to be identified with the likes of us?
Well, the with the 1790 Sundry Act, they claimed that they were under the Moorish Empire, when they were over here, and that they wanted to be treated differently. They didn't want to be under the same anti-black rules of the United States of America, and that's what they wanted to do. We can see pictures of them escorting people on slave ships, and they have on all their Moorish attire, and the children that they're escorting into um, slavery are very little children. So they view themselves different than these African heathens, and they did not want to be associated with us. And that there's a lot of things going on with the term Moors in America, but we're speaking about the Moorish Sundry Act. A lot of people were misidentified as Moors or took that on as a status because that was a status higher than probably free people of color, if I had to guess, certainly higher than someone that was enslaved. And they wanted to, people that were free people of color often took on this word Moors as an identity, even though they may not have had Moorish DNA, in fact, or genetics or background. In fact, that is actually um, a scandal in my own family. Part of them comes from Sussex County, Delaware, where people were called Moors. But we don't know if they were actually Moors because the Swedish settlers over there say that a Moorish ship crashed off the coast of Delaware, and these are some of the people, some of the descendants of these men, and other people say no, that didn't happen. So I'm not sure what happened or whether they were just calling themselves Moors because they were mixed. Some of them were mixed with free people of color, Native Americans, and Swedish people, and some of them were brown skinned with straighter hair. I don't know whether they were calling themselves Moors because of that or if they actually were Moors. So there's a lot of things going on in this country that involve Moors. Moors were a very interesting group of people with respect to getting on ships and sailing across the sea.
Yeah, according to J.A. Rogers, Tibu Tip, a Negro trader, and look, he uses the word Negro. That's important. In slaves and ivory from Zanzibar, East Africa, was the first civilized man to penetrate the center of Africa. He explored territory nearly large as the United States. Stanley Wiseman, Cameron, and other white explorers followed his path. He died very rich. Tibu Tip was a Moorish trader. No pun intended. He traded human beings. So Moors were deep inside of the slave trade, and it history will erase the mystery. If you look at the history of the Moors, and you look at Tibu Tip as an example, they were deep in the slave trade, and as some of our scholars who are actually privy proximal to that I don't know if I want to call it that lineage have admitted that they did make mistakes. We're not judging the whole. Our purpose today is to try to identify who can be trusted and who cannot be trusted in the just basically the history of the Moors shows that they were involved with the slave trade. I'm gonna let Freedom come up here and talk about that in a moment, but let's go ahead and get through Pan Africans. So, question: do Pan Africans have a hidden agenda? Well, ladies and gentlemen, get out your pen and paper and let's take some notes. One of the most I don't know where to begin. I almost skip past Marcus Garvey, who had a history of opism. um, as we said about 6 months ago, Martin Delaney was the first created Pan-Africanism. He created it because Martin Delaney, although he was a foundational Black American, he had a parent from Africa. His mother was from Africa. I think it was his mother. And Martin Delaney had a lineage back to the African mainland. Then that's okay. Martin Delaney, as does many people from South Carolina and North Carolina, have lineages that lead back to West Africa. As a matter of fact, some of the languages they speak over there in South Carolina have little hints and notations of African languages. I did a training at not at the United States Marine Corps training station, Paris Island. It was one of the most profound experiences of my life. I'm not a Marine, but I got attached to him for a little while, and they gave me the high honor of training alongside of them. Well, the reason why I brought that up is Paris Island is in South Carolina, and I remember in between training intervals, I would go try to get something to eat because the food, the chow, they call it, the Marines call it chow. The chow halls were just god awful. The peanut butter packets are delicious. I can't find them anywhere though, but that's beside the point. Um, I would go eat at Subway or where, or in town when I could sneak away, and the black people there had a very interesting accent. They almost sounded Jamaican, but I'm just saying that to say when I talked to them and sat down and talked to them, asked them where they were from, they would say here. But they were allowed to keep that cultural continuity from the mainland Africa. Now, why am I bringing all that up? I'm bringing all that up because Martin Delany had the idea of, some people attribute him creating the idea of Pan-Africanism, the idea that we're all one big Negro and we all belong home to the air quotes motherland. Well, that doesn't work for all of us. It didn't work for Martin Delany's best friend, Frederick Douglass. Um, well, years later, Marcus Garvey would co-opt the idea of Pan-Africanism and use it with an agenda. But I'm not talking about Marcus Garvey right now. We'll go back to Marcus Garvey. Let's skip a couple decades, well, several decades, to look at Malana Karenga. Now, I'm an '80s baby, and I remember in the '90s, um, the idea of Christmas was replaced with an idea of Kwanzaa in Birmingham, Alabama, for a little while. It didn't last long in the Bible Belt, but we didn't ride with Kwanzaa. But Malana Karenga was a scholar who, a Pan Africanist, who came up with a new Christmas tradition that directly linked us back to Mother Africa. Air quotes. This tradition is still practiced by the AME Church. Um, Now, it's important to know that Malana Karenga did some time, and anybody could get in trouble. I'm not judging them on the basis of that. But what does give me pause is his conviction. He was convicted of allegedly um, kidnapping women. I mean, it's heinous as fuck. Allegedly he stuck a and this is a little brutal to hear, but you need to hear it. He according to one source, he whipped women with cords, beat them with batons, and seared with irons while naked. That's a nice way of saying he stuck a really hot curling iron up a female's private orifice. Um, he got out of
What
jail.
was that all about?
Man, I don't know, but John Henry Clark could not scan John, one of my heroes, Dr. John Henry Clark, who also was a Pan-Africanist, could not fucking stand Malana Karenga. He said that Malana had zero respect for the hall of our ancestors in Kemet in Egypt. He refused to take his shoes off. John Clark referred to Malana as allegedly an opportunist. Well, I'm not judging the man just to be judging him. I'm judging him because when I was professing at Lemoyne College in Memphis, Tennessee, I noticed that one of the head of the history department was using his books. I'm a historian, but I wasn't teaching history. I was teaching in the School of Education. I was training teachers. I taught assessment evaluation and multicultural education. Well, anyway, I stumbled into the history department and just was curious what his curriculum was because it's Lemoyne is in a very black neighborhood. It's in South Memphis. Very beautiful history, and I wanted to know what they were teaching these kids. And to my chagrin, I found out that their curriculum is based on Malana Karenga, and it dawned on me when I was writing my curriculum for my undergrads and grad students. It dawned on me that Karenga's curriculum for history takes the foundational black American identity away from America and puts us in Africa. And I started to wonder, was that some type of hidden agenda? And then it dawned on me, Malana Karenga created Kwanzaa to take black Americans who we generally celebrate Christmas, to take our idea. Christmas was a big time in Birmingham, Alabama, my hometown, amongst foundational black Americans to gather with the family, to take our idea of greatest family gathering away from America and steep it in Africa. And I began to wonder, did Malana Karenga get out of prison early for striking a deal, allegedly striking a deal with a three-letter organization to take our identity away from America and put it back into Africa, which it probably has never been for a lot of us. What's on your mind, 7 Forward?
Oh, oh, hey, how y'all guys doing?
What's going on, bro?
Um, okay, so the Hebrew Israelites. I got a friend. He's white, and he encountered the Hebrew Israelites, and he and they queried him. They asked him, what's his background, what's his diet, and he told them that he's a Sicilian and he's a vegan, and they replied to him that he may be eligible to join them. So I don't know what that means. But that's the story he told me about them. Do Pan Africanists have a hidden agenda? Yeah, and I think it's as simple as it's a con job. It's about money, and I think uh, that like the federal government, the alphabet agencies have funded these people for ulterior motives, but I think like people like Karanga and Elaine, I think it was all about just a con job to scam black people out of their money. I yield the mic.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with everything you're saying, but the agenda that we're concerned with is an agenda to infiltrate the black community. If you look back on Black history, you'll stumble upon COINTELPRO, um, that was created under the leadership of one J. Edgar Hoover. Mind you, ladies and gentlemen, J. Edgar Hoover was mixed with Freedman DNA. Allegedly something that he just loathed. As the story goes, J. Edgar Hoover's family was from Louisiana, and in Louisiana has a very interesting history. They have Code Noir. They had Code Noir down there. It literally means black code in French. And Code Noir meant if a white French man had a baby with a black woman, the baby, he had to stay with the baby and provide for her until the baby was 18 years of age, and he had to marry the black woman. So being mixed in Louisiana, particularly New Orleans, was a high society thing. Well, as the story goes, J. Edgar Hoover was from an
It
Ockham.
wasn't high society in my family.
Well, it wasn't.
Nope, we were treated as black people like anybody else.
Yeah, well, it's regional because it was in Birmingham where I'm from. It was, but you had to have money. So, my childhood was very interesting because we were broke. But back to J.
My family's from New Orleans.
Oh, okay, okay, that's interesting. But J. Edgar Hoover, you ever heard of Code Noir? Seven.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That goes back, I believe, when it was under believe for a short time it was under Spanish rule. You can correct me if I'm
French
wrong.
rule.
Yeah, but for a short period of time, the French handed it over to the Spanish. So it may have developed then. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I'll look that up. But so you're saying that the whole colorism thing, since your childhood was moot.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. We don't. Yeah, yeah. It was never a big thing in my family personally.
mm.
Is it determined on whether you have a white father versus you're just light
Yeah, I
skinned
think
because of
that Code Noir that was determined by you having a French white father. So maybe that was.
you think maybe they had some better time of it or something?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's what, as I read the law, that's what it was, and I think what happened is the descendants of these white fathers had privileges and were able to inherit land, and so it turned into a lineage type thing, not just being, looking mixed up. That wasn't good enough. But back to J. Edgar Hoover and hidden agendas. J. Edgar Hoover, as the story go, had a family of means, like they owned land and property, and they were masquerading as pure white. and somebody told on him, and the whites ran them up out of Louisiana, ran him to Maryland, and he had just a deep loathing for blacks because he was black, which makes sense if you think about it. Well, he created COINTELPRO. According to Professor Griff, COINTELPRO is an acronym for a series of FBI counterintelligence programs designed to neutralize political dissidents. So, it was a covert operation, and a lot of our groups were infiltrated, including but not limited to Pan-Africanists. So there were types of agents with COINTELPRO: agents of influence, confusion agents, contract agents, deep cover agents, disinformation agents, notional agents, and agent provocateurs. Actually, Professor Griff calls them provocation agents. So I would classify the Pan Africans as agents of influence, and deep cover agents, and different disinformation agents, a combination to come into our neighborhoods. Professor Griff says a disinformation agent is a highly placed agent who passes disinformation to other governings. So the Pan Africans, if you look at back at Malana Karanga, his ass is a disinformation agent allegedly at a very very high magnitude. He's writing curriculum that makes us put on a dashiki and jump up and down in church talking about an Africa that we may not be from. Why? Well, here goes a kicker. Um, this government has a vested interest of keeping us away from the knowledge that we are the original inhabitants of the United States of America and North America, not the red native. The red native is Siberian, therefore um, he's intruding on our land, but the red native gets credit for owning being the indigenous American group when he's not the black Austro-Melanesian. Is that right, Wani?
Well, we're saying Austronesian. We're going to use that as a working title. Depends on how you want to go. I say Austronesian for now.
Okay. The au-
But they call them Melanesian or Austro-Melanesian if they want to talk about everybody that was from the area that used to be one landmass, like Tasmania, Papua New Guinea, and Australia, when they were one group.
mhm.
All of those people would be considered the same people, but parts of it sank. So Austro-Melanesian, but they say that's outdated. So we'll just say Austronesian.
Okay, Austronesian, which means basically us. I'm looking at these faces in this jumbotron, and I'm doing some intensive research on that right now, and they look just like not just like, they look a lot like us because we have other race mixtures, Caucasian and the like. But in conclusion, this is our land, and that's what the disinformation is. That's what the hidden agenda of the Pan Africans is to take our mind away from the fact that we have a legal claim to this fucking land before
And
anybody
they
else.
and they use the most ridiculous statements of the white man doesn't like you and this isn't our land. And it's like, well, let's check this out. What land likes anybody? First off, land doesn't like people. It's land. But is Nigeria being good to Nigerians? We can go country by country, and you're going to find that at some point, the activities in the country were dangerous for human beings living there. I don't think you're going to find any place on earth where people have just lived peacefully without anyone bothering them at any time. But we're supposed to say, because some people in this country are terrorists, domestic terrorists, that our country doesn't like us. And that's just not going to work unless everybody has the same position and runs away from their country. And the people running away from their countries are coming here and they have African ancestry. So, how could we use the excuse that we've got to get out of our country and go live in Ghana and go live in Nigeria? The same excuse and the same reasoning that Stevie Wonder had, because he said he doesn't want his children to grow up feeling bad about themselves or something. It's like, what? this is a Pan African mindset, and it's just the wrong way of thinking about things. We don't care whether some people in the country don't like us. There's no place in a country where somebody doesn't like somebody. That doesn't make any sense.
Right, right, right. That's that emotional thought process to keep us away from our own land-based identity, and according to Professor Griff, to prevent the rise of a black messiah. J. Edgar Hoover really said that he wanted to prevent the rise of a black messiah. What do y'all think he meant by that? That's a very interesting to say in a legal document. Um, Twizzle, I saw your hand earlier, and we'll go to Hampton. Go ahead, Twizzle.
Hey, what's up, Professor? Long time. How you
Oh,
doing,
I'm
man?
doing good, man. Good to hear from you, man.
I'm still here, man, no matter what. I may don't have no hair no more, but I'm still here, you know what I'm saying? Hey, Nikki. Hey, Sister Wani. I'm glad y'all in here because I want to talk to y'all about something. Please forgive me if this may be a little bit off topic, but me being a student of history, I was in here doing my study on the Great Dismal Swamp. And what made me do my study on that because it was some people talking about Black American history on far it goes back, and they saying like the 1861 census and everything. But as I was doing my studies on the Great Dismal Swamp, people were going to the Great Dismal Swamp in the 1600s. People were going to the Great Dismal Swamp way back then, dude. So we have a lineage and a culture and a whole history inside that Great Dismal Swamp that goes hundreds of years, bro. You know what I'm saying? And they're trying to degrade that and not pay attention to that, but now it's coming out, and this is something that really needs to come out because, I trace my lineage to the Trail of Tears. And one thing when I was doing my study on that, it was two great dismal swamps, one in the North Carolina and Virginia area, and one in Florida. But the one in Florida, they left it when they went on the Trail of Tears. But the one in Virginia, North Carolina, they stayed there. And they stayed all the way there until the economic boom happened when they came out just so they could start making money and resources. So I just want to throw something out to the family. I think that's something that we need to do. I think we need to do a homage, pay homage, and do a old school trek to the Great Dismal Swamp and pay homage to that and give people because we still may have people still inside of there. We still may have people inside that never came out. You know what I mean? Because they've been in there hundreds of years. Just like we have the Geechee of South Carolina, our own people. That's something that we really need to pay homage and tribute to because when I was growing up, I didn't grow up too, fluid or too sharp with intelligence to where when I was growing up, we all we saw was black people getting hosed down, bitten by dogs. Black people never won. We never, everything. But now, as I do my research, we won slave revolts. We won our freedom in certain states, and we done defeated these people in certain things. And it's something that we really need to put out there, because now these motherfuckers, people right now teaching Dr. Martin Luther King fought for all people. Muhammad Ali fought for all people, not just black people. And that's why I love you, Professor, my sister Winey, and everybody, because y'all been there, y'all witnessed that, and especially you, Professor, you are in that region. You grew up in that region, so you know. I'm from the West Coast. That's like me, like right now, watching Game of Thrones, hearing about that, and I would love to visit that. And that's something if we can all put together. We need to do a pilgrimage to the Great Dismal Swamp because that was the beginning of our liberation and our freedom, and that's something that we need to pay homage to, just like Juneteenth. So that's something I want to land my, say and put out there, and I land my plane. Sister Wani, please don't
Mm,
beat me up if I
those
talk to you to
people
death. You know what I mean? I love y'all, man.
those people who
Peace.
you speak of, the people who you speak of, Twizzle, they are the ones who just said, "Hey, I'm just not participating in that shit. I'm staying here. I'm not even going out there. I don't need the white man's land. I don't need the white man's food. I don't need his school system. Let me just hang out here." But I would love to find out if some people were still. Do y'all think anybody's still in there?
It
In the
said
I
in the
think so.
descendants of the Maroons and indigenous people are
Mm-hmm.
working to preserve their ancestors and the swamp.
Wow, that's wonderful. I wonder what BlackRock is studying out there. They're studying, and that's where the Navy SEALs go and train. I would just love to know what they are studying.
South Carolina. They got their base in South Carolina throughout them swamps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, they're saying that African people were indentured, not enslaved, in Virginia before 1661.
That's before 1661.
Yes.
Dr. Claude Anderson talks about that. He says that the first black person in America was not a slave. He was an indentured servant. He has his name and everything. But I don't know. That may be kind of like gaslighting.
Is that John Punch
Hold on.
or someone else?
I forgot the kid's name.
Oh, it's not him
No,
then. I don't think he was a kid.
it was a married couple coming over here with white people, and they had a baby. He was born in America. So the first black well, according to Dr. Claude Anderson, the first black born in America, if you don't count the Austronesians, was born a free man. And matter of fact, his family went to church with the white people. It's a very interesting history, ladies and gentlemen, because America used to be egalitarian. There's a wonderful fucking book that talks about this called The Shaping of Black America by Lerone Bennett. Get that book if you can, ladies and gentlemen. It's disappearing all across the country. But in that book, it shows that the original intent of Christopher Columbus was to enslave Native Americans, the Arawaks. Now, we know this because we have his diary. Matter of fact, I have his diary in front of me. Christopher Columbus was mandated by the Catholic Church and Queen Isabella and Ferdinand of Spain to keep a accurate diary. But Christopher Columbus was a goddamn liar. But anyway, my point is, in his diary, he says they brought us parrots and balls of cotton, um, and spears, and many other things which they exchanged for glass beads and hawks' bells. They willingly traded everything they owned. They were well built, with good bodies and handsome features. They do not bear arms and do not know them, for I showed them a sword, and they took it by the edge and cut themselves out of ignorance. They have no iron. Their spears are made of cane. They would make fine servants. With 50 men, we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want. He identified them as slaves. I could go deeper and just make y'all all sick to your stomach, showing you how when Christopher Columbus ran out of little gold trinkets because there wasn't enough gold, he went back and doubled down on slaves. That same diary made it to King James of England, you know, the one who had the Bible rewritten. And it
King
initiated,
James Stewart.
yes, sir, which initiated the move of British to the Americas to Jamestown, Virginia. um, they were going to go there and enslave the Native American, but they found out real fast that the Native American culture would not tolerate slavery. They would go catatonic. So they had to go back to the drawing boards. But anyway, before I go in on a rant, like Wani said, yeah, before 1600, the a lot of the um quote unquote blacks and whites, it was egalitarian. Matter of fact, um, Lerone shows that Irish men would prefer their daughter marry a black man because he made a stronger yard hand. You know, the children were bigger and stronger, and most people worked on the field. But I digress. I saw.
That's interesting because the same thing happened right after slavery with Reconstruction when they were, when Black Americans made some good strides and white people were not stopping them from having political offices. And then all of a sudden, the jealousy reared up again, and then everything became very Jim Crow-fied. When they were trying to be equal and fair, there's a smaller portion of white people apparently that want to be equal and fair, and they're always outnumbered by a group that's very overwhelming and doesn't want to be equal and fair and heavily influences the other people to go along with it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's very true. And the thing that pisses me off as a foundational Black American is that group of people who cracked the whip and called the shots back then. For the most part, they're either died out or amalgamated. Um, these white ruling class, this class of elite white ruling class, they don't exist anymore. A lot of the Europeans who come and run the show in America are immigrants. So, um, how dare you come over here and try to pretend that? But that's another space for another place. I saw I think Hampton may have had his hand up, and I don't know if Mr. Freedom had his hand up. Hampton, you want to speak?
Yeah, yeah. We covered a lot between what we just discussed and then what I initially wanted to speak on, but I did want to kind of piggyback off Brother Twizzle's point with the Great Dismal Swamp. I'm big into movies because I know a lot of people in Hollywood related to a relatively famous comedian and actor, and so I get to see a lot of the intricacies within the writing process. And what happens a lot of times in movies is you see a lot of goose eggs. They'll drop little gems in movies, and it'll be the movies that the shows that they don't think that we watch, right? So there's a movie from about 23, 24 years ago called The Patriot with Mel Gibson. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen it.
Yes,
But watch
yes.
that movie. You notice after the British burned his house and killed his son, and they had to run off and flee.
They was in
You
the
notice
swamps of
where they
South
fled to.
Carolina.
Fled to the swamp in South Carolina
Yep.
and hid with the Black Americans. You saw that,
And not
and
only
we were
that,
out there
not only
killing.
that, he took his kids to the islands, the Geechee
Mm-hmm.
Islands over there. Yep. They had,
Mm-hmm.
yep,
Yep.
there was nothing but black people. Yep, you
Yep,
correct.
nothing but black. So if you have not seen the Patriot in a very long time, or if you are just now kind of getting into the delineation movement or getting into our true foundational Black American heritage, check out the Patriot. Very good. Check out that scene. Another goose egg. There's a show called, I believe, The Frontier, which is on Netflix. They do the same thing. When the colonials land over here and the French and the British are trading with the natives. Now they casted the natives obviously as the stereotypical red natives, right? Or the plains natives. They made them look like that. But if you watch that show, family, you're
Start
gonna
lay down.
notice they called those people a certain N word. They called them a certain N word. And they used that N word toward the Native Americans, toward the American Indians in that show. Go ahead, Professor. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. I forgot to hit mute. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. Okay. But watch The Frontier. Y'all family, watch The Frontier. They drop these little goose eggs in Hollywood all the time because they want us to just look past it, kind of that train passing in the station. They want that thought to just go right past. But on the side of that train, family, is some very, very helpful, very, very intuitive and insightful information. And if you pay attention to that, you will see that they are dropping all kind of goose eggs and jewels all in these movies, all in these shows. A lot of people know what's really going on. They just they want to put it there so that we can kind of get the illusion that it's just Hollywood and that it's just fake. The best way to hide something is in plain sight. So I did want to kind of piggyback on the brother point that he made about the Great Dismal Swamp and Great Dismal Swamp, but then also going back to Pan Africanism, Professor, because as most of the family knows, I was a devout Pan Africanist at one point. I mean, for a period of about 6 or 7 years, I was about as rah rah RBG Pan African as you can get. And the thing that I noticed, right, one of the most detrimental effects of Pan Africanism is that it attempts to create a sense of anti Americanism within you as a Black American.
Hello.
That is a problem. See, you cannot be un-American living in America. That takes you and puts you inside of behind that. Not only does it take you and displace you from your homeland, but it makes you an enemy in your own homeland. It makes you a foreigner in your own homeland. It makes you anti-you. It's an oxymoron. It cannot exist. It is a paradox that must be addressed. We cannot move forward as a functioning lineage trying to go against our own homeland. And so that effect of Pan Africanism trying to make you un-American, saying the American flag, oh, it's so bad. The red, white, and blue, you was killed under that. They killed you under this flag. They killed you. No, red, black, and green is your real flag. Then you got the Moors running around talking about we are Moroccan. Then you got the goddamn Israelites telling us that we are which. No disrespect to our Hebrew Israelite brethren, because I There's a lot of truth in their belief system. As far they have a lot of evidence to back up what they feel and how they say. So that's the belief system. But
Can
as
they
far as
come
the
up?
Moors go, and I'm sorry, Wani, go ahead.
I was going to say, can they come up and tell us about it?
If we have some Hebrew Israelite brethren in the room, I definitely wouldn't mind hearing them out. But a lot of it is belief, though. Belief is faith is belief, right? So we
But you said they had papers.
so they from what I've seen, from what I've studied, okay, and this is from information that's been kind of newly presented to me, so I can't pretend to be an expert. But they talk about some artifacts that were written in Hebrew that were found on this land. There's various different things that they
In
can present.
America?
Yeah, in America, yeah.
What does
I
that
believe the
have to do with?
Smithsonian might have something that they actually had purposely turned upside down because it was written in Hebrew, and when
Oh,
you flip it the other way, it's actually in Hebrew. But I think the Smithsonian has like an ancient artifact that they found here
but
that's written in Hebrew.
okay, but what does that have to do with all Black Americans being from,
We're not.
you know,
We're not, right, and that's. I
that's the
mean, I can't
confusion?
entirely agree with them. You know what I'm saying? Because also they believe the 12 tribes of Judah. They believe that Haitians and Dominicans and Mexicans and stuff are our brethren. They believe that that's the 12 tribes of Judah. They have a whole different other belief system. Me, I just deal in facts. Right, I can only deal in proof, what I can see, what I can read, what I can feel, what I can touch, what I can actually present to everybody. So I can't go off into no religious spiel because we talking delineation. We ain't, that's spirituality, and that's not my particular forum that I go into. But what I do want to say before I land my plane, the un-Americanism
Oh,
that
wonderful.
Pan-Africanism creates, that's a portion that we have to completely separate ourselves from that. Like, we do understand the foundational Black American lineage. We are a very unique tribe. We are indigenous to the United States of America. We are the most indigenous tribe here. We created the culture here. This is indeed our land, and we just have to be very weary when people are trying to separate us and our personality and our culture and our ancestors, separate us from all of that we created here. And I land my plane there.
Thank you for bringing up the fact that they have a very anti-American point of view, and they don't want us to be a part of our land, and they also have no method to put us somewhere. They haven't secured anything. All their dashiki wearing and BSing around, they haven't secured any land in Africa to say, hey, let's all repatriate over there or make a new life there. It's just a bunch of talk. And like I said, if we agree to it, if we say, okay, we're Pan African now what? They'll just leave the room because there is nothing after that. They just want you to agree that you like what they're talking about. And it's just an emotional pat on the head. It's just nothing there. It's smoke and mirrors.
If it worked, Wani, they would have been kicked them colonizers off the continent centuries ago. If it
Yes.
really worked, they would have been. It wouldn't be no neo-colonialism. If it was a real concept, all of those nations would have got it together and fell under that concept many moons ago. And it never happened because it never will. It's a pipe dream. It's a smoke dream. It's pixie dust.
Yeah, no cap. Yeah, and very well said. Mr. Freedom, I don't know if you wanted to speak. You came up earlier.
Peace. How you doing?
Hey, brother, what's going on?
Good, good, good. Thank you for bringing me up. Excuse me. Thank you for the invite. For Sister Wani and Nikki as well. Appreciate you. I wish I knew the subject was coming up. I would have did some digging. I had something really interesting. I would have brought up, but I wanted to follow it up with the actual record, the site. I like to do that ahead of time. But to answer your question, do Hebrew Israelites, Moors, and Pan Africans have a hidden agenda? I can only speak as it relates to Moors, but I have to let you understand that there's delineation there too. And I try to make that very clear. I think some people look at just that word more or Moorish and they just, have a blanket um, thought process about it. And some of it is well earned because, you come across certain people um, and they can put a bad taste in your mouth if you've never been to a Moorish science temple, or about some of the what they would call the adept chambers. Is There's lower initiates, and they have their place, and then there's certain more science temples they've been infiltrated. So they actually have been on the negative side of COINTELPRO themselves, just for whatever they're seeking to do. Some of that is well earned, because some of these people, whether they were steered that way, um, say like inducement, um, you know, again talking about COINTELPRO, you might get some people who just have mental illness, or like mind-boggling reading comprehension issues. They're just anti-government. Some of those people have been led astray that way, so they have their own little thing going on. But for people who are actually following the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and the Holy Moorish Science, Temple of Science, uh, they're actually laying in wait, and what they're making sure to do is that anybody who does actually come and try to fulfill some of those prophecies, that they don't sell their own people into slavery. That's one of the things that Prophet Noble Drew Ali mentioned, and those I would call the dirty Moors. So outside of the temple, you have dirty Moors. These people have no mentors. They're on a unto themselves. They don't have any elders that they are beholden to, or a community that they're beholden to, and they're just out there wreaking havoc. All right, and a lot of times they take themselves out, and they're treated very differently by government officials. Then you have people who are involved with the temple. Some are infiltrated, some are not. Um, but the temple works very closely with the U.S. government in every way imaginable. Even when it comes to every 50 years, the Treaty of Algeciras is re-signed. Okay, there's always a melanin person that has to be in office to re-ratify that Treaty of Peace and Friendship for the U.S. government to continue being in force. Okay, so I'll drop that little part there. But as it relates to the question, um, the people in the adept chamber, the people who are the wise elders and sages that are sitting back and making sure that the course is following the stars, and they're using the rudder and sextant to chart chart the chart the waters that we all navigate. All right, according to the celestial procession, they know the date and the time, and look for the signs, and they're not interested in trying to derail anything going on with what you have gone. It's not even on the radar. So when you to answer, if you're concerned about reparations push, or um, I don't know, anything that's happening politically in that way, they're not concerned with that. Their eyes are to the heavens.
Do you know why the Hebrew Israelites show up at these rallies and speak against reparations?
Oh, I have no clue.
Yeah, they're on. I have a video of them doing that. And, I don't even know if these people are American because they just let anybody join. Well, there could be non-Americans, again, speaking for Black Americans. Oh, we don't need any reparations. We just need God. You need to turn your life over to God. Because that's the type of thing they were saying on the video.
Yeah, I've never been um, a Hebrew Israelite in the sense of what it currently is. Um, I don't know. It looks. I'm just as befuddled. It looks strange to me too. I think personally that there are just like the Pan-Africanists, who are like communist socialists, and when you try to talk to any of them, they're uh, you can distrust a white people generally. I mean, they've earned that distrust, but just outright hate, and then like, yeah, uh you know I'm gonna kill a cracker, that kind of. And you're like, well, something's going on here. Like I feel like I'm being set up when they talk like that. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
yeah, that feel to me that feels like if that's being allowed, that feels like someone is an agent, and they're sort of there's a thing. I'm not good with citing things. That's why I like to go ahead of time. But basically, one of these Masonic leaders, maybe it was Albert Pike said this. I believe it was Albert Pike, but he said basically give them their leaders. I'm about 90% sure he said that. Um, so we're living in biblical times, and we're coming upon that third world war scenario. Um, I wouldn't be worried about these minor groups. They don't have any new playbooks, honestly. Um, you know, but as it relates to Moors, that's why I separated the three: the dirty Moors, the temple Moors, some are infiltrated, and then the adept chamber. Uh, the adepts are not concerned with any of these petty things like that. Not at all.
Now I do have. I got a question for you, brother, because it seems like you might be a little more inclined in the Moorish sciences, right, than I am. You studied the sciences.
I have.
Okay. My one of the primary concerns that I've always had with the Moorish Science Temple and all studying the Noble Drew Ali and kind of seeing what occurred with that particular movement. What's the beef with the word black? Like I know they always say black is dead by law, black means dead, and by law black
Right.
means this, and by law black means that, and science says black means death. And it's been a lot of various pieces of information that have been, quite frankly, it's been anti-black, right? It's
Mhm.
literally anti-black. It literally is kind of regurgitating that old notion of, you know, uh, devil food cake is black, angel food cake is white. The angels will be olives. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Yeah.
seems like a lot of Turkish Ottoman Empire stuff to me, and so I would like to get some more of an understanding if you know what's up with the beef with black. What's
Okay.
up with that?
Okay. Yeah. No, I can. So some people they get locked into specific echo chambers, and they're not able to see things from a holistic point of view. And what I mean by that is, yes, in law, black when you deal with law, especially in America, well, and really most of the world, it's in Moorish Latin, okay? And black means negro, which actually comes from uh, a necrotize, or something that is dying or dead, right? Um, so specifically when it comes to some people in the Moorish Science Temple, because of that, their speciality a lot of times, at least the active Moors in law, they wanted to remove that term as it relates to the legal and even the connotative definition. It's a very negative thing. It's a reason for it. Okay, it's not that we're anti-black, at least the people that are doing it for the right reasons. It's because when you read that definition, when you understand neural linguistics, when you understand the casting of spells, literally spelling words, every word has
Facts.
numerology, things of that nature, metaphysics. It actually is a spell. Okay, but simply black itself, the color, even the word, it's not a bad thing. We were always called black throughout time. It doesn't matter. Indigo, no matter, even more when you break it down, instead of Moor, there's many different spellings. The root of it is mu, which is water. Um, it's just it all ends up tying to black. It all does. So to I'm saying all this to say some people get really orthodox. They get really overzealous. They become zealots, and they feel like they just have to beat that out of you. And those people have not. I would say those people they're not adepts. It would be a lower initiate, or maybe even you're coming across someone that's not a temple Moor, or even possibly a dirty Moor that's just
A
pimping the
dirty Moor. I
knowledge.
hear a lot about dirty Moors. Yeah, y'all talk a lot about them cats. Yeah, I heard about dirty Moors. It's so I'm glad you were able to like clear it up. So that's not a general principle across the entire Moorish like you know what I'm saying community. Even though according to Moor science we're Moors, right? But That's that's all semantics. Essentially, that's not a general principle across everybody. Everybody isn't just against the word black and don't call us. Everybody doesn't think like that, right?
No, unfortunately, see, there's good. You can do good and bad with fire, right? With the internet, it can an idea can supplant, and people just take off with it, and they go with it the way that they like their teacher that they learned that said this. Oh, black is all bad, so remove that. And even to the point, the reason why Obama removed Negro in the archival records of America is because he was petitioned by Moors, okay, to do that. And that was ceremonial to fulfill prophecy for us coming out of our bondage. And that happened roughly around 2012. A lot of things, a lot of legal wins started to happen around. Um,
I thought that was a Filipino lady that pushed
no,
that deal.
no,
I mean, she was Asian.
no. It was actually Morris that got together and they petitioned Barack Obama to do that because the language of it is it's a sign to the world that we're mentally capable of not being minors anymore.
'Cause I know they removed Oriental with it too,
Correct. Correct.
and I think mongrel or mongoloid, one of the another like Asian somewhat epithet that we say.
Right, right. Yeah, those labels that are put on you are for a primitive time, and with the information age now, you don't have the excuse anymore. And you can come up out of these different labels. But me personally, when I deal with more and I use that word, it's about someone who knows how to chart the stars. They know how to chart the stars as it relates to being here on the earth. And any geomancy or place on the earth with ley lines, you have to the way you know where you are in the universe, especially as it relates to the earth. You have to know about the bodies, the heavenly bodies. That's what mooring is.
Please give your take on more, Professor Allen.
Oh well,
Please, please.
well, I pretty much agree with the gentleman, and he took it a step further. But Dr. Chancellor Williams says that the term Moor originally meant, black black people of Mauritania and Morocco, and Dr. Chancellor Williams identifies when the initial attack upon Kemet, performed by Western Asians. The Western Asians co-opted the term Moor after amalgamating with the people. So the word Moor was stolen by Western Asians, which we now call Arabs. So it was just kind of jumbled up, and the blacks were referred to as Blackamoor. Um, and over time, they were just referred to as Moor. But he went a lot further than that. um, if you want to speak, raise your hand. I don't want to skip over anybody.
I'm going to invite some people up to see if they want to speak. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah. So, um, hidden agendas. Oh, I gotta see this. Jesus is my king. I gotta hear this.
Oh, Professor,
Yes, sir.
I said a lot of things, but sometimes I listen back and I think people get confused.
Uh huh.
Um, the hidden agenda is that
Hello?
the
Hold,
true
hold,
Hello.
Moors are
hold
there.
on. Hold on, Jesus.
The true Moors, okay, the ones who are adepts, not the people who are just saying treat it like a religion or outside the temple or dirty Moors. None of those. The true Moors are watching the stars and they're making sure that when the time comes, because they know how to chart the stars, that when certain people come into power, we will make sure that they are not. Um, we will make sure that they're not going to sell us back into slavery. And the only way
Interesting.
you know that is if because things repeat. It's cycles. So
It's
so
cyclical. Yes.
yeah, it's cyclical. So if the people who watch the stars know when certain beings or certain people are going to come into power, it's just all ancient societies, the high priesthood knows this. So
Let me ask you a question. Do y'all know from looking at the lines in their hands and feet?
all of it, that's all part of it. I'm
Hmm.
sure you're familiar with numerology and metaphysics.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's all all things are connected. Absolutely. But there's
So
I won't get into it specifically, but because I'm not directly, I will be speaking out of turn because I'm familiar, but I'm not directly tied to those people who would make those decisions, or I don't know the time or the place is what I'm saying, but I do know that they're going to make sure that we don't end up back in that situation again. I know that.
hmm, interesting. So I was told that the hands and feet of children um, lay out the map of their destiny, and is certain people keep a record of your footprint when you're born. I was told that every time a baby's born, they ink the feet. Isn't that true, Nikki? They do a little ink print of the feet.
Yes.
Uh
Yep.
huh. Those I was told that those ink prints get uploaded and are kept in a vault deep in the Vatican, where they analyze the patterns on your feet to find out who you are, find out who's coming back. That's just what I was told, though. We're gonna go to Black Adam, formerly known as Jesus. Black Adam,
Yes, sir. Good evening. How you doing, sir?
doing well.
That's good. That's good. All praise to the Most High. I am a Hebrew Israelite. Um, I'm part of a
Welcome
ministry.
to space. Welcome
Oh,
to space.
oh, thank you, thank you.
Welcome,
Who
brother.
was
Welcome.
speaking? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All praise to the Most High in the name of Jesus. I am a Hebrew Israelite, and I'm part of a Hebrew Israelite ministry called Straightway Truth Men Ministries. I've been part of ministry for 5 years now. And our motto is that we live set apart, just like the Bible says. Come out of her, my people, and be ye separate, said the master. So we grow our own food. We raise our own cattle. We have our own schools. We have our own security force, and we're self sufficient. We have about 12 communities throughout the United States in the Midwest and the South. Our pastor is Charles Dow Jr., and we are a deliverance ministry. Um, but what it means is that what Jesus did way back when, cast out demons, raise the dead, and heal the sick, that's what we do. We believe in having the Holy Spirit and believe in His Son Jesus. And we do have the power of the Most High because that's what the Most High says, that if we follow His commandments, and we obedient and we believe in his son, Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus, we will be saved and we'll have powers that Jesus had. So, um, to make a long story short, it's not a hidden agenda. Um, if you read your Bible, the black people in this country are part of the Hebrew Israelites, are part of the 10 tribes and the tribe of Judah and Benjamin. So we're part of the 12 tribes. Those Indians that came along the Bering Straits and across the Atlantic Ocean, we are part of those people. There's archaeological evidence that people in those tribes spoke Hebrew, that they wrote Hebrew,
What
and as Hebrew.
evidence? What evidence? Can you show us?
Huh? I'm sorry.
Can you show us the evidence that they
Um.
spoke Hebrew?
Well. Well, like.
Can you name which Indians you're speaking about? You said they came across the Bering
Yeah.
Straits.
Yeah. Let me backtrack. I'm sorry. I do apologize. Um. When they came over to this land, they did not speak Hebrew. Um, there was a empire called Tentaria. Have you heard of it?
Tell us about it.
Okay. When the 10 tribes of Israel, that's the northern tribe.
Now,
Um,
can we hold just a little bit of a second?
yes, yes. Go ahead.
Can you name what these 12 tribes are and what their relationships are to us?
Okay. You have the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin with the tribe of Levite. That's the southern kingdom. Then you have the other 10 tribes, Ephraim, Manasseh, Reuben. Those are the 10 tribes. They are the tribe of Israel. They broke up during the time, well, after the time of Solomon fell and was not king. They split in two.
Okay.
Um,
So in
now,
terms of the peoples, like you believe that Haitians are part of our tribe somehow? Can you name the
um,
groups of people that you're saying are part of our tribe?
okay, you're talking about the Haitians.
Whichever foreign groups you feel are part of these 12 tribes, could you
hmm
name what those are?
What foreign groups are you talking about? Are you talking about Haitians in particular?
Haitians or whoever else you feel are part of our tribe.
Okay. Okay, that's an easy question. When the slaves came from Africa to the Americas, North America, South America, Central America, and the Caribbean islands, that was the southern tribe of Israel, the tribe of Judah, and the tribe of Benjamin. Um, and also you had Hebrews that was in Spain when the Moors were in Spain. See, a lot of people they think that they were all Muslims. That was incorrect. There were also Hebrew Israelites in Spain at that
Sephardic,
time.
Sephardic, or
Yes, and
someone else.
right, right. So a lot of those Hebrew Israelites also came to Hispaniola as well, and also they came to South Carolina. So with Haitians in particular, you can say that they came from the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin, which is the southern kingdom. I hope that answers your question.
Well, my question would be, what is your primary source document to verify this?
My primary source document,
Yes, sir.
well, I don't have it on me right now, but I do have a series. If you look on my page,
And
there
I guess I'm saying, are you using what are you using as a to verify this? Are you using the Bible?
I'm using the Bible. I'm using books that I have in my library. You have there's a book called the Black Indians by William Katz, and you have books that were written by Josephus. It's a very long, thorough book. I read this book when the tribe of Judah fell in 70 AD when it went down to Africa. Those are a few references that I can name on top of my head. There's other resources that I can name, but I can't think of them right now. But I can also point out there's a series on my page, a Cherokee woman, who can break down the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom when they came to the Americas from Israel and from Africa and from Russia. But
Okay.
there's other references that I can name, but I can't think of it right now. But those are a few sources that I can name right now.
Yeah, my issue is with all due respect, the Bible's not a book of history; it's a book of myth. So I'm not saying that the Bible does not have a lot of truth in it, but it cannot be used as a reliable book of history because it's never been one. There's a lot of truth
Well,
in it though, but
that is your opinion, and everybody has an opinion. You haven't been where I've been. I have a close relationship with the Most High, and I speak to Him every single day. Just like I tell people who are not part of our faith, you haven't been where I've been. Um, I have I have helped a lot of people who have been in bondage,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah. See, this is a
Yeah.
we're getting emotional. I'm being factual. I wasn't trying to be pejorative. I said it's a lot of
I'm not being emotional.
I
I'm
wanted
not.
to ask a quick question.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I just want to be clear. I'm not being emotional. I'm just stating fact. You have fact. I have fact. I have eyewitness fact. So I'm not being emotional. I'm just saying I don't agree with you, and I can back it up. That's all I'm saying.
okay, so some of the issues that I have is when they list the 12 tribes, they'll have Uruguay on there,
Hmm.
Argentina.
Hmm.
How is Argentina an African uh, group of people that, a group of people that came from Africa? How are they related to where you're saying people came from Africa?
That I don't know. You're saying Argentina and Uruguay. That I don't know.
It's
But
supposed to be the tribe of Asher, Asher.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it is possible. I haven't delved deep into Argentina and Uruguay and Chile and those South American countries. It's possible because, the book says we were spread in the four corners of the earth. I don't have
Okay,
evidence
but
that they.
if those people don't have African ancestry, how can they be part of these tribes or listed as tribes?
Um, well, if you can go back to
Also, where it says the 12 tribes,
uh-huh.
Nepalti, Hawaiian, Samoans, Tongans, and Fijians.
Uh,
What did
um,
they have? When did, I mean, they left, that's a long time ago. We'll just
wait,
say tens of
wait,
thousands of years ago from them
uh,
being African.
um,
So,
okay. Let me just respond to what you're saying. Um, are now as far as the Argentinians and the Chileans and the people in South America, like I said, it is possible because when we came out of Egypt, we was a mixed multitude, but we was mostly, it's hard to say African because Hebrew Israelites are not concretely African. We are melanated people, but we were a mixed multitude when we came out of Egypt.
Africans are
As
Hamites to y'all, right? Y'all call Africans Hamites, right?
so you're saying we came from Egypt
yeah. I,
and then scattered to these places.
Okay, can I answer one question
So
at a
what does that
time?
have to do with the transatlantic slave trade?
right.
Now the Southern Kingdom, I'll just backtrack to what I said earlier. The Southern Kingdom that came out of Israel, they went down to Africa. The tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin with the tribe of Levi, they went down to Africa and they was there for a very long time until they came to the Americas. Now there's
Hold on, hold on, hold
a
on.
s-
Where did they
n-
come from, real quick? You said they came from where? Israel to Africa?
they were in Israel in 70
Mhm.
AD, and when they got pushed out by the Romans, they fled down to Africa.
Okay. Do you know which
The,
areas?
I'm sorry, can you say it again?
Do you know which areas in Africa?
They went down to West Africa, Central Africa, Southern
But the
Africa.
bloodline doesn't show that. It shows that the Limba people are the only people on earth that have ever left those so-called Levant region and made their
Uh,
way down to
uh,
Malawi, southern parts of Africa.
uh,
Nobody else. Nobody
um,
else.
There's
that's
nothing
not
wrong
true
with
because
admitting that you don't know.
Wait. Okay, can I respond to Wani? That is not true because you got the Igbo tribe that are settled in
They're
Nigeria.
not genetically Jewish. They're just not.
Um,
They've been
w-
tested. The Ethiopians
we
have
are
been
not Jewish.
tested.
And you are right. We are
They
not
don't have that
Jewish.
bloodline. They don't
We
have that bloodline.
and you are right. We are not Jewish because we don't call ourselves Jews. We are
Okay,
Hebrew
they're not
Israelites.
Hebrew Israelites or any of that.
Well, and then I
They don't have that background. I mean, they have been tested.
yeah.
Some people haven't, some people
Just
don't.
because you're tested doesn't mean that you're
It
concretely a
does.
Hebrew.
Well,
It
You can't rely
does.
on the test.
well.
It proves. It proves of what they're saying because they said we practice these Jewish customs that you're talking about, and they said, okay, let's give it a whirl. There's people on the earth that said we practice these customs. Maybe we're Jewish too. They didn't really know if they were, but they knew that they weren't eating pork or whatever. They were following certain customs and marriage rites. So they said, let's give it a whirl. Put your put your DNA in the box. And the Ethiopians, they have a long history of practicing Judaism, right? And also this certain Western tribes also have a history of it. I don't know how long it is, a shorter history, but they're considered beta Jews because they don't have the DNA. You see,
So
something happened with those people coming out of the Middle East. They
so
were isolated a while till they developed something very particular to them, and if you don't have it, then you can't say you're from that group. You can't just go, some black people were Jews, so therefore all black people were Jews. Limba people are very specific. They don't go along with anyone around them. They don't have the same genetics as those around them that look just like them.
Facts.
if what you're saying is true, Wani, then why the Igbo tribe in Nigeria they circumcise their son on the eighth day, and they have Hebrew customs that were written in the book of
Because they're
Leviticus and the book of
simply
Numbers.
copying, just like they practice Islamic customs and they also have Christian customs. They are not ethnically Jewish, though.
And a lot of Muslims, if you go back history, a lot of Muslims were converted to Islam from the Hebrew Israelite faith. They were either killed or they were forced by the sword.
Well,
So
well,
you
But they
well,
so
still
well,
so
don't have that DNA, though.
yeah. And my issue is the gentleman said you said y'all came from Israel. I heard AD. What was the year?
okay, there were different there were different time periods.
Okay.
You had the Assyrian occupation. The Assyrian occupation was in I would say 300 BC. And at that time they were fighting against the Persians.
So see,
So when
but I heard you say they came from Israel during that time period, correct?
uh, 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 um just now when they were in captivity, they were out of Israel. Now you gotta go. You see, you gotta break it into sections. The tribe of Judah was in Israel. The tribe of the tribe of Israel, the northern tribe, they left
Oh,
and they
okay.
went and they
So
went north
so the tribe of Judah was in Israel during what the land mass of Israel during what time period?
um through the whole time.
Give
Now,
me a year or approximate year.
okay, they left Egypt. I can't give you a concrete time period when they left Egypt. It was maybe like 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, but they went into the land of Canaan, and they settled in the land of Canaan ever since. But as far as the modern time, the tribe of Judah was there
Well,
the whole time.
that's what
Now,
that's why I was saying, sir, that you can't use the Holy Bible canon as a history book. It's a beautiful book of myth, but it's not historical because Egypt was created on May 14th, 1948. Um, the I was taught that the Israel or Asrael was a people. It wasn't a place. So I mean, I like what you're saying, but it's just I need a book. I need a source to verify this. It sounds like
The source that you can go by, which I don't have because it's in my library and storage. You can go to the book of Josephus. He'll give you an eyewitness account of what happened, especially during the time where the tribe of Judah was pushed out of Israel between 67 AD and 70 AD when they left and went down to went down to Africa. But as far as the 12 tribes of Israel, like I said, there was a northern tribe and the southern tribe. The tribe of Judah was there the whole time, and there was a large group of Israelites that were in captivity in Persia as well. So you had Israelites that were in Israel, then you had Israelites that were still in captivity in Babylon, and then you had the northern tribe
well,
that left.
I hear you, sir. But if you look at Kemetic history, they kept extensive records. I mean, they wrote records on buildings. They wrote records everywhere, and there's no record of this. The quote unquote Egyptians, Kemetic Temerians, whatever term you want to use, did not have a record of this. This record is recorded in the Holy Bible canon, and the Holy Bible is not necessarily a book of history. It's a book of myth.
You said that 5 times, or you gotta repeat yourself. I heard you already, but I don't agree with you. I don't. Hello?
Yeah, I'm
So
here.
Yeah.
you feel that the Bible is a true history book? You believe in Noah's Ark?
It's lower degrees. It's lower. It's
What do you
allegory.
mean? Okay. What
Okay.
does the other
Okay.
guy think? What does Jesus think? Do you feel that Noah's Ark is a true story?
I believe everything in the Bible.
So
Which
you
Everything.
believe,
version?
hold on,
Okay.
you believe eight
Yeah.
million species of
I,
animals
I
times two got on a small ark?
That's not entirely true. But you got to do, you got to read your Bible. You got to read the scriptures. That's not what it actually
Yeah,
says.
and
But
yes, it is exactly
no,
what it said.
no,
They gave the
you,
measurements of the ark, and it's impossible for 8 million species times two to get on there.
uh-huh.
How are
Okay,
they going to fit on the ark?
okay. Uh, that's your opinion, Wani.
No,
I said
that's
the
a
opinion.
fact. That's not my opinion. It's impossible for 8 million species. How would they get species in Australia on the ark? Maybe somebody took a jet plane and picked up a kangaroo and brought it back?
Genesis 10:25.
Well,
Any ideas how I get a kangaroo and a panda from China? They didn't even know about those animals, so how would they get them
the
on the ark? How did they
the
survive the
Most High
flood?
is all powerful and all knowing. I
Oh
Oh,
am
my
okay.
goodness.
all powerful.
Brother,
That's
Nobody's saying. Let's check this out. Nobody's not.
all powerful.
Nobody's saying that he. This is not challenging theology or the belief in a higher power. I'm not doing that. I know. I don't believe there's a higher power. I don't believe there's a higher power. I know there's a higher power. My what I'm talking about, sir, is the book. You're using a book in the context of a history book, and I hear your story. I like your story, but you can't.
Mhm.
I can't accept that book as a history book because it's not a book of history unless you give me a specific book. Which Bible are you using?
and brother, let me hold on one
Um.
second, brother. You're. I'm saying this out of love, okay? I want you to
Uh-huh.
feel attacked. All right,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
okay?
Right. Right. Mhm.
King James wrote that book, and it was supposed to be accompanied by the book of demonology. Did you know that?
I don't use only the King James version. I use different versions, not just the King
Well,
James.
you have to deal
There's
with that because we're talking about the Council of
there's
Nicaea and the 77
there's
books that were
um
omitted. It's imbalance.
I do
Just listen to me,
I
bro.
do use
Come on
hold
now.
on,
One at a time.
I
Come on.
I
I
okay
was just letting you know
I
about that because you got to understand the perspective of who's writing the book. and the literature. There's ancient knowledge and there's science behind certain things, but you're getting into morals and dogma and lower degrees of religion. Okay, and when you take that as uh, scientific or literal fact, that's when you get to Punic Wars and you get into all kinds of killing and you know uh, omitting women and just you get into different things that you're not supposed to. It's imbalance. It's imbalance. You see what I'm saying? So the that book is actually called in the secret schools is called the Book of the Dead.
Mhm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Um,
And it's written actually from the perspective of what I want you to look into is called the Codex Gigas. It's the Devil's Bible. All right, and literally in the beginning it talks about seeing God moving upon the surface of the waters. The perspective is something that's in the water looking up and seeing God moving upon the surface. It's really a reptilian being. That I might be too far for you, but I'm trying to let you know it's way deeper than you think. And you're trying to beat people over the head with this.
Yeah.
And you see what I'm saying? So, you know, at some point you might get to that degree, but you shouldn't come to. You can live your life and do everything and separate and do all. That's the great thing about America. You have freedom of religion, but you shouldn't go to other people and try to beat them over the head with information. And one of the worst things to do is not admit when you don't know something. You can go and research it. We got the internet.
Yeah,
It,
and
it makes you look disingenuous. Now I'll land there.
I put in the jumbotron a copy of what the gentleman was talking about, King James, and I'm not trying to attack you. I don't want you to misconstrue that. I'm trying to find out if there's some information that I don't know. But when you say you use the Bible, I'm assuming you're talking about the King James version, and if you're referring to that, King James is not a reliable um, um, steward of knowledge. In the Jumbotron, you see that when King James was a prince, he wrote a whole book on demonology. He was very concerned with demons. So I can't let somebody who was concerned with demons tell me about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most high God.
mm, okay.
Yeah.
If I can jump in, and this is a great kind of intellectual, back and forth. But going back to what I was saying before, Professor, this is exactly why when it comes to faith, right? Faith is just belief in something without any physical evidence. We don't have any real, tangible physical evidence out of anything out of that book. The only body they found was Pharaoh's. And if they found his body, what did the water just spit him up out of the goddamn Valley of the King? So even that make you look like kind of make you wonder what's going on. So that's why when it deals with faith, I people have their faith, they have their perspective, and to each his own, respect to that. But when it deals with objectivity, and we're dealing with facts, and we're dealing with tangible evidence, we have to look at what is tangible. We have to look at the actual history. We have to be able to follow the breadcrumbs. And that is what makes this delineation movement so important. And that's what makes being a freedman, a foundational Black American, and recognizing our lineage so important because we have breadcrumbs, we have tangible evidence, we have paperwork, we have things that we can go back to, refer to, find different places, different points in time, different periods of time, and connect the dots. And we can see exactly what occurred throughout our history, the reclassifications throughout our history, the rebranding throughout our history, different points in time to the exact year in our history where those events occurred. This is why it's so important to be able to connect those dots. And this is why I choose to try to steer away from that. And this is going back to Pan Africanism. This is all Pan Africanism was, family. Pan Africanism was a bunch of intellectual masturbation, a bunch of smart people sitting around arguing about a bunch of history and who sacked Songhai, who destroyed the ancient history in the University of Sankore, who did this, who ran through West Africa and messed it up before the Europeans came. Who it became a bunch of finger pointing, who did what before, who did what and when, what, where, when, how, and how. I don't give a damn about none of that at this point. I've delineated. I'm worried about my lineage, my ethnic group, my tribe, what we are owed, how we can get to what we need to get to, and anything outside of that, they're gonna have to scramble them words and figure them out on their own.
Okay. All
And
right.
I land my plane there.
Okay. Average, go ahead.
Much appreciated. Wow, that was a lot that we were talking about. First of all, great space. Hello, everybody. Happy to be here. So, wow. Grew up a Christian myself, but I'm not in any organized religion. So I just pray a certain way, and that's what it is. I don't really have much religious conversations and all of that. Fun fact: my last name right now is a Hebrew last name, and my first name is based off the Hebrew name as well. So basically, my full name is Hebrew. Um, but not a Hebrew Israelite, not in the least. But I do like that the Bible's being spoken about and all of that, and we're talking about Ham and Noah, and you know. So one part of Noah, one part of that story that kind of sticks out to me is like the curse of Ham, right? You know, um, looking upon Noah's nakedness, I guess is how it's looked at in the Bible. But even that interpretation is very, very shaky. Is somebody talking? Oh, but
No, nobody's talking.
okay, looking upon the nakedness of Ham, right? I'm sorry, Ham looking upon the nakedness of Noah. Now that translation, I don't believe in the King James version. I didn't grow up like reading that. I read out of a more unedited version of the Bible, but I do know what that you know, there's a lot of talk about that. They thought that black people were, descendants of Ham for like ever. Now a lot of us know ourselves to be descendants of Shem. But anywho, um, Ham and looking upon Noah's nakedness, in some interpretations, is that while Noah was inebriated, that the nakedness of a man during that time, was seen possibly as his wife. That maybe Ham, while Noah was drunk, had relations with Noah's wife, and that's why there was a curse put upon him. That's why he was so angry by what happened. But also, there's another interpretation. It could also be that while Noah was drunk, the nakedness that they're talking about is that Ham uh, uh, sodomized Noah. So that's why there also might have been such he put a curse
That's the
forever
white boy version.
on him. But I'm just talking about interpretations because the nakedness part, it doesn't quite cover or make sense why you would curse somebody's genetic line forever simply because they got drunk and you saw him naked and walked outside and say, "Hey man, Pops is naked." Like that's not a that's not a passable. Nobody gets that mad over something so goddamn small. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, the dad was naked. Man, dad has a beard. He's naked. Man, hey, what'd you say, boy? Fuck
The
you
naked,
forever.
Yeah,
the
bro,
Fuck
y'all don't
nakedness.
you
actually
and fuck
understand that.
everybody
It's
that look
fine.
like you for the rest of goddamn time. Fuck everybody. Like, no, that doesn't.
I know I don't actually sing my daddy
That's
once,
not
twice.
logical. That's a hell of a curse, man. Just because you saw me naked, like, come on, man. That's just being mad for a day or two. No, something like really bad happened. To that
He was
that
visually scarred.
Yeah, that's
That's
that's a hell of a curse, and that's your son, and that's all your son's descendants, and you like, man, look, you and everybody from now on till time indefinite, a curse upon you. So, I like that interpretation makes more sense. Doesn't get talked about a lot, especially for bringing up Noah. Also, too, as much as I've heard the Noah's Ark story and all of that, I'm I give myself peace by saying, look, the Ark had people in it. That's it. There's no way in hell they got all them damn animals in that small, uh, that small vessel that was to last a certain amount of days. Because I'm like, if you could fit as many animals as you possibly could in that amount of time, because it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, but the amount of water and the drainage and how long it would take over a year, around a year or something. Like, that's a lot of food that you got to eat and all that. And where the hell what you eating? Because me, you know what I'm saying, I'm I'm a black American, man.
you ain't went to the replica in
Man, them
Kentucky.
cows is gonna be in trouble. Them pigs is gonna be in trouble probably after that.
Shit all over the
Nigga,
place. Yeah.
it's gonna be some. I'm gonna have some elk. You know what I'm saying? Like,
They got a replica in Kentucky. They said it's to the precise measurements.
I get to this, so but you can't fit, man. Okay, I ask you this: everybody done been to the zoo, right? Could you imagine every animal in just that one zoo, which is a mere fraction of a percent of the species fitting in a whole
You gonna
ark?
get typhoid.
There's no
You gonna get
way.
some type of little
Come on,
disease.
guys.
There's no way. There's no way that all that could
The
fit up
ark
in
is the
there.
size of one little small building,
Exactly.
and there's 8 million species. And if you just say land animals, 6.5 million times two. And then you know what Ancient Aliens said?
What if it
They
was more than
said,
one arc,
huh?
Lonnie?
No, no, I'm not finished with this crazy story. This is what Ancient Aliens dropped on me. They said, oh, well, he just took the DNA of the, oh, really? He went around with a syringe getting DNA from kangaroos? Really? Okay. Pandas, categorized all this stuff and put it on glass slides. Yeah, that sounds right. And then stacked it on an ark. Mm-hmm.
That's a loose inter. That's a hell of a.
And then guess what? Now he's got all this genetic material. He's going to need to clone all that stuff. Is that what he's doing?
8 million times.
And then, if the answer is, well, God can make a way, then why are we doing the ark in the first place?
That
Why are we wasting all that time? Just do it that way.
right. Yeah, just march to Mount Everest and everybody hide in the cave until all the waters go down. That's below the top of Mount Everest. But
Seems like a good plan.
you would have just did that. One thing I do, I actually do believe there was a flood and an ark, a great flood, and some kind of ark that protected people from drowning. That's about as far as I'll go with it. And the gopher wood part of the story is very interesting because gopher wood only comes from Georgia and South Carolina. So that part
Florida.
sticks out. And Florida, yeah, same area, right?
Yes,
Right.
they've had major floods all over the world, but at different times.
Right.
So not one world flood, unfortunately, for the story, but major floods in every place on
Yeah,
earth. And they all have a flood story as well.
everybody has a flood story.
Right, right. It's a part of a lot of different lores and all that. Even America, there's evidence that there was, like, they talk about a mud flood, and the way a lot of our cities are constructed, there are downtown areas that seemingly are built on another whole fucking city. You know what I'm saying? Because there was some kind of massive flood. But yeah, the Noah story, it's pretty easy to like debunk it. Number one, and I'm saying as somebody who grew up a Christian who still prays Christian. You know what I'm saying? And I logic is logic, and the dimensions of that. I'm just like, look, people was in it. You survived the flood, great. I totally get it. Now, what evil was on the earth during that time, and who, and how tall, and all of that, we get into a lot of different things. But you know, you got to look at the Bible,
Oh, you want to talk about tall people, huh?
right? Yeah, 9 foot tall people. And my thing is, okay, if nobody came out tall again, how do we get Goliath many centuries later in the in the Bible? We get Goliath
There's
coming
some
around.
tall
The
people, all
NBA and
right.
NFL niggas are
They,
the Nephilim.
they
They
ain't 9 feet
God
tall.
said there will be giants in those days and even after the flood.
I ain't look.
There are giants on this earth. There are
I'm
giants.
a big
So
dude, but 9 feet tall is pretty goddamn big. That's huge. 9 feet tall. That's a
okay.
lot.
You got
It's
educate yourself.
crazy how people don't read scripture.
I mean,
what do you mean?
what
that's
do
9 feet tall. That's what they
I'm
said that they were. The Nephilim were listed as nine
I
feet
mean, they
tall.
counted cubics back then, so we don't know for sure if it was
Oh
90.
Lord.
Oh,
Oh
was it?
How
It
you
Lord.
leave
wasn't
them
9 feet.
chickens off? I'm still mad you left them chickens off. Come on now.
You said what? Chickens? What?
You didn't mention them
There were no
chickens.
chickens on the ark?
Oh, that's funny. Listen, yeah, they would have had to have a lot of chickens up in there to keep people even alive during that time. That's a whole year. I don't even know if the ark could have had enough food for everybody for that goddamn long. But that's 3 meals a day times eight. You know what I'm saying? Because
They fast too back then. You forgot.
you said what?
They
For 40
fast too,
days?
so they probably did a week or
40
two
day
of fasting.
fast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. One
probably
one time in
fast.
the year, still.
Fasting make you see shit. So they probably, I ain't gonna lie, they probably imagined
And thank you. You bring
that
up a good
the
point. Where
flood.
do you shit? You know what I'm saying? There it is. That's a lot of shit.
Oh,
No,
no
I'm just saying
personal
fasting
Where
is
that
questions. No
becoming
going at?
personal
crazy
Where we
again.
putting
questions.
that at? That's a whole year.
They had a
You
porta
start
potty.
seeing things.
You know, you just do what? Everybody's the what? There's an upper deck toilet. You just stick your ass out in the water. I mean, what's up?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Look,
You
I
just
just know
dump it
They
that if
had
you
in.
one of those
fasting,
marine
I will be
toilets.
seeing some burning bushes too if I'm fasting for
Hey,
60 days and 40 days. Like
right. And if you talking about the land or whatever, all I'm saying is it's a lot of portion to the story. You know, so I would say because I heard the brother say he believes everything that's in the Bible, and I'm like, the Bible just really isn't a literal book. No matter what religion you are, once you start elevating your intelligence, you can look in the Bible and say, yeah, there's no way this book is 100% literal. It can't be. And there's a lot of, and
Then
the more you learn,
how can we explain the many people around the world that practice Hebrew customs without scripture?
all right, listen, I'm gonna move past that. Um,
Just answer the
I mean,
you
the,
question.
the
totally drove past
missionaries
what
and
I just
colonists
presented
did go
to say that
everywhere.
shit.
But I wanted to, before um what's his name? Cutlets goes. I wanted to ask Jesus something because he mentioned they went from somewhere to Canaan. And is he, I wonder, Jesus, are you still there?
Because I want to know where Canaan is too.
It
I
came
see
from
stuff.
Egypt. It came from Egypt to Canaan.
So where's
Well,
Canaan?
whoa, whoa,
Canaan
whoa, whoa,
is
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Africa.
Hold on,
When you
Hold
when
on,
you
let
hold
me
read,
on.
let me land my plane real
What
quick
I want to make,
before this
I
nigga
just want,
go off.
oh no, go ahead, Average. I thought you were finished.
Nah,
Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay.
nah, because I'm like, I know when we let that dude, when you Wani, when you ask him what you're gonna ask him, it's gonna start driving into a hole because we done got all the way out here. You know, we somewhere. Shit.
Where are we? I don't know
Oh,
where we
he
are.
Yeah, I'm
left.
yeah,
still in the wilderness.
Oh my God,
we're
we're on
finally
Noah's Ark.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, he done ran off.
we somewhere, but
Where you go? Jesus left.
Yeah,
He's
Oh,
somewhere
Man,
between
I let
Egypt
Wanda
and
catch
Canaan.
playing with him.
yeah, he left the building.
yeah, they don't
Yeah,
like
well,
when
he
oh
you
my
you
talked
talk about the
God.
enough.
Bible.
He talked enough. Other people had to talk too. The first time he got on stage, I had to mute him several times. He kept coming off the mute. He's just selfish.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I really did the thing that I really came up here for when I raised my hand. It was in a whole different place, but he took it to it because Professor talked about something that was incredibly interesting. He dropped a little bomb, and people really kind of like it went another direction. But the footprints in the Vatican, very heavy stuff
Oh yeah.
that he brought up. And see, it's another thing too. A lot of these companies that basically collect DNA because we understand that it's entertainment. We know that a lot of the CEOs have the people on the board have quit, have resigned. We know the science is ever changing, and people keep getting different results depending on what company they go to. And even the same company, if you do it in a couple of different years, you'll get different results. And so one of the estimations, one of the things being theorized is that it's just to collect DNA to also look into those bloodlines to see who's going to come back, to see they know who's who. And when you look at how they are, it seems like everybody's hell bent focused on us. These one peoples who aren't even 1% of the world's population, maybe what a half of a percent of the world's population, we're so focused on, and it's like we're the whole entire ball game, and
Totally.
yeah, and
But somehow scripture is fake.
somehow you
Hey, hold
don't
on.
have
Don't
emotional intelligence.
don't
Somehow,
come off your mic, please, sir.
sheesh.
Stop being triggered. You're missing. You're trying to make this about what you want it to be about, and missing the point. Now, yes, sir. This is very old, and this is very old. And you're right, average. They're concerned with us. The other night we read in the 33 laws of war that you don't attack somebody that you're not concerned with. You ignore them. Now those footprints. Um, I was taught that by somebody very that had a high clearance. That those footprints, when your baby's born, they scan them in now, and they go in the Vatican. Now, Freedom brought up earlier that they know who you are, because your feet have and your hands, your palms, like a palm reader. You have a star alignment on your feet, and they know your lineage. They have some. I was told that this ancient order of people are looking for somebody, like you said, to come back. Now let's go back to hidden agendas. Earlier, I said that Dr. King's mother was killed by a quote unquote allegedly crazy Hebrew Israelite. Well, do y'all know that they knew who Dr. King was the day he was born, and he was close. His whole family was closely monitored. And that when Dr. King was assassinated, what let me tell you what the news never doesn't talk about. His brother was assassinated too. Was somebody trying to make sure that that bloodline was eradicated? Likewise with Malcolm X. When Malcolm X was taken out, do y'all know that his son, he didn't have a son, he had daughters. The
Grandson.
grandson was taken out. And J. Edgar Hoover,
Yeah, mess it up.
J. Edgar Hoover's big mouth ass with his top secret clearance said it. He said, "We must prevent the rise of what? A black messiah." It's in your face. We just don't want to see it.
Unless we create them. Yeah, he said unless we uh, create that black Messiah. I know somebody in here finds this incredibly funny, but these are you didn't speak nothing but facts about what J. Edgar Hoover said. And it's very telling. The fact that I don't know why it doesn't get talked about more. The fact that the director of the FBI, the longtime director of the FBI, who made all of these different plans to just do the most demonic shit to a race of people. We were so the sabotaging of people's organizations, the open planning to assassinate people who weren't criminals. You could just assassinate an American citizen, the open planning of that, consistently smearing them in public. You're a government agency, and you lie and slander people openly, and then of course eventually murder them. And this does not get talked about. And it's like, yeah, hey, he got killed. They just, you talk to the average white person, they just like, yeah, it was unfortunate. No, this was the greatest among us being just drugged through the mud. His family was targeted. His not just him, but his family was murdered. Like you said, they don't talk about the brother, and the brother was outspoken as well. Martin Luther King's brother wasn't no joke. You know what I'm saying? Like Martin Luther King's brother sock you in the face. Like he was the one. What you saying about my brother? Like
He was on that Malcolm X time.
he was more of a what I'm saying, but he chilled
Militant.
because of his brother and all of that. You know what I'm saying? And another thing too, Martin used to roll around with guns. They don't talk about that shit either. Martin, he protesting nonviolent, yes, but goddamn it, please don't roll up in this house with Coretta and my kids because I'll shoot your ass. He didn't say that, but he had them guns. You know what I'm saying? His brother did too. We know who
Martin was
Malcolm
smoking
was.
Virginia Slims average.
You said what?
Martin was smoking Virginia Slims back then. That was the OG cigarette.
Hey, it's a
That
lot they
like
don't
if to
know.
hide all that,
It's
you
a
you
lot
you
they
gotta be
don't
playing
know,
a good
man.
role.
And they tried to kill him before. It was some old sister that tried to kill. She like missed Martin's heart by like an inch, stabbed him in the chest. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things what Professor's saying. He going to the bottom of the ocean on it, but it's something that doesn't get talked about. They worry about these bloodlines. How many members of Malcolm's family has been killed as well? We know that Betty Shabazz, she got murdered in that house. We know that his grandson got killed. We know that recently one of his daughters got killed, died mysteriously. So yeah, it is a lot to what Professor is saying. And then this DNA. And to land my plane, I love what he brought up too. You're not concerned about somebody who's not a threat. Nobody is. And that's why white supremacy, the myth-based system known as white supremacy, they have to consistently focus on and continually try to sabotage and oppress somebody. It has to be consistent because they are worried for a reason. That's because without that system, mediocrity just is going to be what it is. Being mediocre, you're going to fall to the wayside. You can't fend for yourself being mediocre. You can't stand next to somebody who really is superior when you're really mediocre. But if you are superior, you don't need no system. All you need is equality and a decent chance, and you gonna rise to the top. So that's why we're the focus, and that's why I think they are just always laser focused on who comes out of what we're saying when we speak the truth, or whatever. So I land my plane there. I appreciate y'all.
Oh yeah, love it. Ladies and gentlemen, on the Jumbotron, you'll see Our Story Publications. If you want a copy of my book, put $25 on the Cash App, put your full address and full zip, and I'll send you a copy of my book where we go more in depth on secret societies and how secret societies were used in the creation of America. Yes, they were. I talk about that in towards the end of my book. In addition, in the Jumbotron, you'll find Wani Spots and Nikki the God's Cash App. Show them love. Should come up shortly. Um, with that being said,
wanted to ask
Well,
the guy, somebody was telling me because someone mentioned that they went to Canaan from somewhere, and I wanted to clarify where that was from. Is Kolzitz the one that was saying it? Because I'm
Yes,
trying to
yes, ma'am. That's
understand.
me.
Okay, so they were living in Egypt and then they went to Canaan, right? According to you.
No, I'm talking about from the time of Genesis 10:25 after the Tower of Babel. We have a world building. So just
Okay,
imagine this in your head. If
I'm
God
getting
is saying
confused. I'm,
so,
I didn't ask all that. I'm trying to
no, because you
find
have to
out.
start from the beginning when you talk about
Okay, let's
genealogy and
start from the
geography.
very, very beginning
Yes.
of where you say these Hebrews occurred. Where is your starting point according to your story?
Just the generality of it. If God is saying, I'm going to choose a spot for the Israelites to have
Hmm.
themselves a kingdom in the land of Canaan, that does not mean they're from the land of Canaan.
Why not?
Because it's telling you right there, you're coming there. It's telling you right there. There's from these people
No,
from the
what?
line of Shem, or are they from the line of Ham? Which
Hold on. So you're saying they came from where?
they came from their own lands.
Which are?
Most definitely in the Asia area and the Americas.
how do you know?
Oh God.
Because according to what
Okay,
God
so
gave Noah's sons, he gave all the lands
okay,
of the earth to Noah's
Uh,
sons
accor-
for
okay.
all their
according
descendants.
according to what document?
We're talking about scripture here.
In what?
And what do you mean
Scripture
in
in
what?
America?
In what
Where does
book?
it say anything about
The
America?
first of all, if you look up the Hebrew name of America, it's called the
Oh,
lands
no,
of the
no, 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 no,
covenant.
no, no, no.
These
Hold
are the
on,
lands of
hold
the
on, hold
covenant.
on.
Where our
Relax a
Yeah,
minute.
calm down.
Relax a minute. Okay, so what archaeology shows is that all of these people were living in Canaan, not coming from another place. They're all Canaanites, point blank. I mean,
who are our Canaanites?
we can see that Jewish people were living as Canaanites. They decided that they wanted to worship one God.
Which Jewish people?
They were worshiping all of these other you know, Baal, Moloch, Yahweh, and Asherah.
Facts.
Are you saying every one of them was all worshiping different gods? Every one
Yes,
of
they
them.
That's a
were.
fact. That's a
That's
fact.
That's
documented.
not what happened. And
Yes, it is.
that's
That's
not what
documented,
happened
shown in caves with their, with
in
all of their
caves.
little Jew. Yeah, that's where they were hanging out.
Again,
With all of their little,
which Jewish people are we talking about?
And she's trying to teach you something. You should listen.
No, but
with all of.
we have to.
Okay, you're exploding.
Yeah,
With
calm down,
all
sir.
of their idols and all of the things, they were all worshiping the same thing. They're all the same ethnicity. They're all the same people. But this one group said, we don't want to worship all these other bloodthirsty gods. We want to worship this Yahweh that also requests blood. And we want to worship one
Hello.
thing. And then when they branched off and they were isolated, they developed their own um, DNA markers that we can now see today that makes them distinct from these other people we call Arabs, because they isolated and they came up with that. And then that one branch went down to southern Africa and are now known as the Limba.
Facts.
And the others went to Europe. They went through Persia. They ended up being Sephardic Jews. They ended up being Ashkenazi Jews.
Hmm. Okay,
So where does this coming from Egypt part come from?
so these Jews you're talking about the
There's
conversos.
only one kind.
No, because okay, we're not
There's
talking
only
about those Jews. Those are not the real Jews. Those are not the
Yes,
Hebrews.
there's one kind. Let me explain.
Okay,
So
explain.
some people came from Africa, like everybody, and they ended up in the Levant region. and they ended up in Canaan, like I just described. They came from Africa, ended up in Canaan.
Okay, so you're following contemporary scientific history.
I'm following cave finds, archaeology, their bloodlines, their bodies are found along the way,
Again,
fossils.
again, this would be contemporary scientific history.
Yeah,
Okay.
As opposed to what?
See now,
making stuff
what
up.
indigenous people
So
worldwide
this is
says. Hold on. I'm not talking about scripture. We could talk about indigenous people worldwide.
Hold on,
What they're
sir.
saying.
Sir, that doesn't make any sense.
No,
Indigenous
no, it
people.
does. It does make sense
they
because
are
they have.
indigenous. I just said they came from Africa. They went to the Levant region. How are they not
That's
indigenous?
not.
They're
That's
coming
not.
from
That's not.
Africa.
That's not what all the tribes around the world states.
Huh?
All the tribes around the world states. Everybody can't state something. What do you mean,
Well, there's indoctrinated peoples, and then there's people who were found to be on a specific land that tells you a different
sir?
story.
You're talking in broad generalities. It's like confusing me. Be specific.
Well, I
What
mean
are you talking about?
to be quite honest, we're all being broad here. So what I'm saying
No,
is
no, no,
you
no.
have
No, no, no. Wani was being specific. She talked about
with what?
a specific lineage from a specific place.
No, she did not. You can't even name that specific lineage in a specific place because those
I
same
mean, she
people
kind
are
of did.
conversos. They're conversos
The
from Khazaria.
Canaanites.
That's their
No,
history.
no, 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 no.
No,
No, these people would be
are you sure?
Semitic Africans.
Are you talking about the Jewish people, the Ashkenazi Jews today?
Semitic Africans are the people we're talking about in Canaan. You're talking about what they became after they left. See,
There was two splits in Israel, the north and
a
southern
lot
split.
of people left. A lot of people left. Okay, and they
Okay.
went to Europe, just like gypsies. They didn't like the way they were being treated by the caste system. So they
Okay.
left and they went to Europe, and that's where they are hanging around.
The
Okay,
Gypsies
they're
are
not
Ashkenazi
from there.
descendants too.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yeah, yeah,
Why they're not?
yeah.
They don't even have anything to do with Jewish people.
I'm gonna stop entertaining this gentleman unless he brings up some type of evidence. Like nobody really cares. No, don't take this the wrong way. Nobody cares what you think, sir. Nobody cares what I think. They cares what I can prove according to a text, a reliable text. So can you please give me some type of evidence for your claims? I want to believe you. Believe it or not, I want to learn something new. That's why I'm in spaces. But give me some.
I was trying to answer some questions that they have for Jesus,
No,
but
no, no, no,
Jesus
no,
had
no, no,
left,
no,
and
no,
then she was
no.
asking me separate
You
questions.
already did, but you didn't answer it
No,
Right.
properly. So
no. How is
the
that?
Ashkenazis are okay. So one of the problems you have is you're going in reverse. People became Ashkenazis. Ashkenazis were not over anywhere. They became that, just like Sephardic Jews. They started to be called Sephardic Jews after they left the Middle East and went over to Europe. Now they're speaking all kinds of different languages and they've become something else. They did that's not you've reverse engineered the process. You might want to call them when they're in Canaan, you may want to call them Semitic Africans. I mean, you can call them a different type of African than you might find in West Africa. They certainly are different. Um, and they would be called Proto Arabs. They weren't Arabs yet. They're Proto Arabs. They're what Arabs would become after some mixing and some other things. So, like I said, they have a starting point, and then
Hmm.
they branched off. Simple as that. And they did a lot of branching. Okay,
Hmm.
they branched off from the Canaanites, which are today's Arabs. Then they branched and went to different parts of Europe. And then that one Limba tribe, they branched and went to southern Africa where they are today.
Okay, so now let me ask you this: what is your point in saying all this? Because this has nothing to do with any of the questions I have ready to ask or have asked already. To be honest with you.
True, because you said another starting point, and that wasn't where they started from.
Yeah, because you kept missing Jesus, and I was
I'm entertaining this gentleman just to teach the audience that we need to eliminate people from our presence that come up here and waste our time just spitting emotionalism. This is one of the problems with the black community is we have people that come up here without any evidence, not following rules, going off of some type of deep emotionalism to try to convince us of something where they have no facts of. What the gentleman's not taking into consideration, and no disrespect to anybody's religion, I was born in the Baptist church. And I do believe in an Almighty God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever you want to call him. I do believe, I don't believe, I know that there's an Almighty God, but I don't need to prove that to anybody. But this gentleman is following a biblical canon that was re engineered to be used as a weapon, and he's defending it with his life. With that, I'm removing him.
that's not what's going on.
Good shit. Good shit. Perfect timing. Professor, you were fast on your feet that time, man.
He kicked him down to 300 hole. He's
Y'all silly. I wasn't trying to embarrass a guy. He's just up here arguing with Wani, and Wani's being really, really kind with him. I was waiting on the old Wani, and he's telling her she don't know what she talking about, and I'm asking him for evidence. It's not coming, you know. Anyway,
Kudos, Wani. You handled them very well. Kudos, because I remember you would have you back, but a little while ago, you not too long ago, you would have tore somebody's head off intellectually. You would have tore that man a brand new one. But you kept your cool, you kept your composure, and you hit him with straight facts. And that's Professor. That's why. And I said it once. I say it 3 times. That's why I only deal with tangible evidence. That's why I only deal with what we can physically prove, because belief is belief. Faith is centered around belief. You don't have to have any physical evidence. It doesn't got to make sense at all. I mean, in that book, there's literally a story of God. There's someone climbing a mountain. God tells somebody to go do something for some reason. You know how you get in the book. And then he tells somebody to climb a mountain. And then there's a bunch of children. You can look this up, guys. You can look this up. There's a bunch of children laughing at this man as he ascends this mountain. Okay, and the children are saying, "Go forth, ye bald head! Go forth, ye bald head!" They're laughing at him. Okay, and do you know what happens after that, Professor? I'm not sure if you're familiar with the story, Wadi, but
I do. Them kids
He
got the
got attacked
business.
by a bear.
two grizzly bears come out of the woods and maul the children to death. If now I understand, hey, maybe that means just do what God say no matter what and don't question it. I don't know what the real moral behind children being mauled to death by grizzly bears is, but I'm sure that's got to be some moral, because I'm sure at least two of the kids would have ran off. One of them would have got away. You mean all 52 stayed to get mauled to death? So we can't deal in belief and faith because there's no physical evidence. We can only deal with what we can truly prove.
yeah, and some of y'all know, and that I've had an out of body experience. I had a near NDE, a near death experience. A lot of people have, particularly people who served in the military. And long story short, I know a handful of people, including myself, that's been in a compromised situation and had a out of body experience. Some people have even seen um, entities on the other side, the afterlife, whatever you want to call it. And what's interesting, what I find interesting, even from my NDE and other people's NDE, is once you experience, you know for a fact that there's something after this life realm, you don't feel the need to try to convince other people. It's pointless. It's like I know it's there. They'll see it whenever the creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the all force wants them to see it. He knows what he's doing. When he wants you to see it, you gonna see it, whether you like it or not. So all this running around trying to no, this the way, this the way. From my view, I kind of view it as them trying to convince themselves, you know, which is not necessarily fair to other people. Anyway.
It's a very colonial mindset. It's almost to like when you think about
the various different types of systems and the violence that has been rooted in the name of the honor, the Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. You hear all of these atrocities that are based around all of this, and you think it's a very colonizing thing to want to push and force onto someone. It's literally, if I'm a believer, I have to make you one. And I believe to each his own. I believe if whatever your path to righteousness is going to be your path to righteousness. The creator will find a way to speak to you and to go on and try to push this narrative on the people. Not only are you pushing misinformation, because Wani just tore that boy up with evidence, with facts, with genealogy, with proof, and all someone has to bring to the table is belief. You can mislead people, and right now we have a very strong focus on this delineation movement. We have a very strong focus on our ethnicity. We have a very strong focus on our specific group and our lineage. And you get these different uh detractors coming in, and they're essentially throwing off and dissipating the energy, so
Right.
I'll land my plane there.
Yeah, the religion that turned into Islam used to be called Mohammedanism, and they would walk around, according to Dr. John Henry Clark, and put a scimitar to people's neck and say Muhammad or die. We have to be careful. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not, like I said, I was raised Baptist, was baptized at 16th Street Baptist Church, but we got to be careful about some of the ideologies that we buy into. Dr. John Henry Clark said nothing came out the white man's mind that was not created for the domination, for white domination. Like a lot of stuff that we engage in is weaponized and we don't realize it. We just had a gentleman in here just straight babbling out of defense of something that he couldn't prove. He was engaging in a weapon, a psychological weapon that he didn't understand. That's psychological warfare. It did everything that a weapon does. It turned us against each other. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. We arguing about something that nobody can prove. As opposed to saying, I hear your view. That's a good point. Next subject. You know. All right, we're gonna get a couple more people and I'm gonna call it a night. The black, I don't know if you had a chance to talk.
What's going on, Professor
What's up,
Nikki?
bro?
One, everybody in the room. Yeah, that's why I don't deal with these religious freaks. They scare me because either I understand why religion caused so many wars over time, especially when you like you learn history and then you learn like the back doors of religion, like the occult side. Yeah, that's what made me just say, yeah, I I believe in a God, but when it get deep into that book and debating it, yeah, I don't do that because people go crazy and might chop your head off like the Mohammedans. But to answer the question of the room, uh, do Hebrew Israelites, Moors, Pan Africans have a hidden agenda? Yeah, I feel like all these are like different COINTELPRO operations throughout the ages that try to mix dogma and real history together to blur the lines of how we actually can perceive ourselves and the different bloodlines throughout the earth. So, because it's easier, like the brother said, and you added, it's easier to make people believe in a myth or a story and pass it around kind of like a lie than break down the truth, because the truth is stranger than friction, and
Facts.
and sometimes the truth is a hard pill to swallow. You might not like what you what you hear, and especially when it comes down to religion, a lot of people don't like to hear certain things, especially like when you brought up the part about the book of demonology. When I point that out to a lot of deep religious folks, they look at me like, yeah, you going into the Satanism. You don't supposed to read them type of books. I'm like, that's what they want you to think. Like I said, if you don't put together the puzzles of why these religions split up in the first place and start battling each other, then you won't understand what the hitting the coat side and why it's so easy for them to control the masses because all this is just the old version of how they did politics in certain ways. So yeah, that's why you don't supposed to deal with these folks because either they gonna make you hate your own bloodline and homeland, or they gonna trick you out the spot and you gonna be somewhere else in somebody else's homeland and teaching your offsprings and their generations that yeah, this is where you supposed to be, and you need to go back and get your spot. Like, nah, y'all don't already got tricked. So stay where y'all at and make it better. And then you know what I'm saying, we can come together as one big, large, distant family and make things work. But people don't want to do that. They want to, come and take your spot in what you have because they feel like their ancestors was somewhat either tricked or they just made a bad deal. And unfortunately, we have continued to fight and not take no deals. And we ain't trying to take no prisoners like everybody else. We just want to be left alone and what is owed. But I land there.
Oh yeah, I saw what's the gentleman Martin Cross? He came. I don't know if Martin got a chance to speak. We're gonna have a couple more speakers, and then we're gonna call it a night. Martin, what's on your mind? Oh, it's an error. It's not adding them. Martin, I'm sorry. It's not.
Yeah, but I just brought him up. He's coming up. I just brought him.
Oh, okay,
Let me
it
see.
says requested, but average. While we wait on
Yeah, nothing too much. I was trying to look up the clip so I could get the information correctly. So when I was talking about um, uh, Ham, I was actually the curse was actually upon his grandson Canaan, and so the theory
Yo,
the theory is that Canaan. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, his grandson's name's Canaan, right? Yeah, Ham's son's name's Canaan. That was the curse, right? So that was because the nakedness he was the result of the nakedness. Canaan was so Ham saw his father's nakedness, aka the wife of Noah, and Canaan wasn't even born at the time of the curse, and so Canaan was the result of Ham laying with Noah's wife, and that's why uh, Canaan, the offspring, was cursed from being, the result of adultery or rape or whatever you want to call it. So that's the theory. So I just want to make that quick correction, real quick, and it's actually a video on it where a really solid guy is breaking the shit down. The guy's name, he actually is out there. You probably follow him. He has a series on Boule in America is Egypt. It's UBTV. So that's where I got that from. He broke it down beautifully. You guys can look up that YouTube account. UBTV goes deep. And he talks about a lot of different things. Very interesting. His Boule series is great, and his America is Egypt series is incredible as well. UBTV.
I will look into that UBTV. We're gonna go to housing, and if Martin doesn't come up, well, Martin can't. His thing is not Martin Cross. It keeps saying error when I try to bring you up, bro.
brother professor, I
Hey, what's
think my
up?
mic.
Okay, you there? Can you?
I'm here. I'm good to go.
Sound like I heard Mikhail. Mikhail, you there?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I thought. He could go first. Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Let
Mikhail.
me
What's
hear the
going
fellas.
on,
Hey, Mikhail,
Mikhail?
go ahead, bro.
It's kind of
What's
scratchy.
I'll
up, my
wait.
brother?
Greetings, the great ones of the great black ones, the savant, professor, the oracle, on Wani Ani. Wani, 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 Wani. You know, we got the queen, Nikki. You are the best. We have my dearest brother, Average, man. Miss you. Family, greetings. So quickly, I mean, I've heard a lot, and that woo woo stuff just, you know, you know, when I hear it, my brain explodes. But then I listen to it sort of as a form of comic relief. But I mean, I'm here. I mean, I'm literally here at the source, and I've seen things, heard things, been places, done things that the scholars that people read and write about, and I'm not just talking about ours, but the albinoids, they haven't. And I'm always curious why everyone starts in Egypt or in the so called Middle East, which was just really East Kush and or West Africa, and they don't come to Ethiopia. I mean, it's certifiably proven that 3.5 million years ago, the original so called prototypical humans began here. I mean, you have the technology in the hubs that proves it's not even debatable. But it's simpler to start somewhere else because when you don't start at the source, everything has a source. I call what people call God or Allah, I call it source to make sure there's no confusion that I'm not referring or um, projecting to the wrong sort of beingness, source. Everything has a source. This is the source. And at this source, I'm literally, I mean, unquestionably looking at the people without a doubt who built the pyramids. Literally. I mean, I'm watching them, talking to them, laughing with them, walking with them, eating with them. You understand? And and they know it, even though their curriculum doesn't teach them that. They know it. But I would say there's a group of people who really know it, and then a group of people who don't think it's relevant. They could easily, literally put fake Egypt or the Arabs out of business, or the so-called Bible stuff out of business, easily. But they don't. And as I said, the so-called scholars, even the Pan-Africans, they don't come here. If they come here, they're just hustling or running around, trying to grab a chick or two, or playing with some NGO, but they're not here. Even your top archaeologists, they just began to come here. I mean, the easiest way really to distract a so-called Ethiopian is put on a television or your cell phone and, about an ancient story of Kemet or Kush. Right? They will stop what they're doing and focus. I mean, literally, to go from here, Ethiopian highlands, right, to what you call Kemet, right, which was the apex of a continuum of the greatest dynasties on this planet. It's like going from Miami to New York, literally, you understand? And, you know, and even here, there's confusion because they've allowed religion and indoctrination, propaganda to distract them. Interestingly, I mean, I've had Ethiopians take me to a tree and tell me this is where Noah is buried, and point to another tree and say this is where his wife is buried. Okay, so it's easy to punch holes in it because I'm, I have a different mind, but I could take what they say and go to the source of what they said and then go beyond and find the truth because I understand the value of critical thinking. I understand what the albinoids, the smoke screens, the series of smoke screens that they set up to keep you from going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the labyrinth, which is just endless. But if you're not committed to starting literally 3.5, 4, possibly 4 million years from now, I mean, into deep history, and then walking all the way into present and then into the future, then you're going to find yourself, like Stevie Wonder said, believing in things that you don't understand and suffering. And with that comes the superstitions or the names like Canaan and Shem and all this other foolishness, you see. And it's unfortunate because even with us, when they say, well, you don't know where you're from or who you are, I know exactly who we are. And even if I'm watching Soul Train or James Brown or looking at, the inventors, that are responsible for the 50,000 patents, I know who we are. And I know why we're so gifted. I know where we come from. You understand? And I can explain it in detail, specificity. Why? Because I start at the source. Everything has a source. And when you start at the source, you realize how insignificant the albinoids are. How literally the first cosplayers are the ones we call the mongoloids, the co-opters. And this is why when you look at the petroglyphs or the rock art, you see people literally with slanty eyes doing, pardon my French, fucked up shit. They were the first problems on the planet. You understand? And then, of course, the albinoid version of them came. But they were the first problems. They were the so-called, what the albinoids were called, the uh, Neanderthals. Even the albinoids, they co-opted them. They weren't the first Neanderthals, but they put their pale skin on them. You understand? So here, even here, the people, they predict that we're coming. They wrote books about it. You understand? And we are the closest thing in terms of thought processing, in terms of futurism, in terms of innovation, in terms of all eyes being on us. We're the closest thing to the people of Anu, Kush, and Kemet because we have a direct lineage. And that's why you see those pyramids and other things, phenomenal things, in the landmass we call North and South America. But there's a story behind that isn't taught in our curriculum. So we're disoriented. Fortunately, we're figuring it out. They're disoriented here. We all believe that north is up and south is down. That's disorientation. If civilization began here and traveled northward down, then in your oldest map shows you that south is literally up. How did this orientation shift? And what were the political reasons behind it? Because those who are governing what we call source knowledge have put us in this construct, this matrix, where we literally can't see that we came from the stars. We are created of star matter, stardust. We weren't monkeys. What? If we were, then that would mean there are monkeys in this place people call heaven. Okay, so there's when do and how did we lose the tail and gain a soul? There's just so much bullshit and illogical, disoriented riffraff running through our minds that we can't see. But when we hear enlightenment, it rocks our pineal gland. And that just doesn't apply to us from the West, but these ones here. Because when you surgically, literally nail them, you see their eyes wake up. You see that light come from them. And they want to hear it all the time. And whenever they think of you, they want to call you. What do you think about this, et cetera, et cetera? But we have it in the West. And this is why they're coming to your spaces to hear, literally, the voice of those who in the past we called the netters or the neteru, the forces, the enlightened ones, the savants. You see, so you have everything has a source. And if it doesn't connect to the source, then you have to dismiss it. But we have to go into the labyrinth, deep into it, and become the source of our own source knowledge and stop allowing those who literally, every group of people on this planet have literally called these people, and Wani, we discussed this, the people of stress, the people of high conflict. That was their nicknames globally. Okay, here comes the people of stress. Okay, here comes the people of conflict. Wherever you were on the planet, they were calling the Albinoids and the Mongoloids that because that's all they fought. And then they took everything you had, put their names on, you understand, and stressed you out, put you in conflict. Essentially, the goal is to put you in conflict or disorientation until the source says, okay, it's a wrap. That's their goal. But if you don't start at the source, and the source of humanity, which is very clear, is here. I see these people. And they're literally most walking in darkness. They have a hypersensitivity towards what you would call religion or spirituality, but their orientation is off. And this is why they look to us for orientation. And this is why those in the West who call themselves Africans or Bantus, they have in their DNA a default respect for these ones on the horns. You don't see them debating these ones here on the horns because they know who these ones here on the horns are. And the ones here on the horns know who they are, you see. But then, of course, you have the ones who've taken on the Arab or the Greek classification. Now they think they're so-called Shemites. Where did that name come from? Or they're Orthodox this, or they're a so-called form of Black Caucasian, that, you see. It's just orientation and clarity and discernment and being able to surgically punch holes in bullshit like you were doing with that brother that called himself Jesus, or the brother who came on stage, and I was definitely going to punch holes in his nonsense, who called himself a Moor, you see. And they haven't come here. Most of those fables or those tales, you know, they say come from here. But the people who inherited those tales, those stories were brought to them. If you say Noah, you're talking new. You're not talking about literally a man who put a bunch of animals or reptiles or cells or whatever in a boat, right? But people have a right to believe what they want to believe. Now, if they choose to debate you, then you have to punch holes in it. So I just wanted to put that out there. And this is a great space, and I learn as much as I give. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'll
No
land.
doubt. Uh, OG, you got last words, and then we're gonna head out.
All right, thank you guys. Shout out to you, Professor, and Sister Wani, and Sister Nikki. You guys, good space. It's all over the place. So, you know, I guess I'll just address the title first, and we'll keep it moving. Do Hebrew Israelite Moors, Pan Africans, and have a hidden agenda? Uh, yeah, I'm gonna have to say they have a hidden agenda. Pretty much, hidden agendas. They don't have to be nefarious. It's just those that set of words when you say hidden agenda makes it sound like something nefarious, but actually, hidden agenda can actually show the seriousness of your convictions. Okay, so that would be one reason. Another reason is it shows a clear path to being able to go under the notion and the guise that humans are able to govern themselves. Each individual is able to govern themselves. So that would be another reason for a hidden agenda. Uh, there's probably so many other reasons. And then stemming off of that with the hidden agendas and all those other arguments, Professor, I guess you have to take it up on another day, though. But we're all over the place. One thing is that people say the Bible is written by God, and people say, God is the author of the Bible. That's not true. It says inspired. Okay, He inspired me right now, but I'm not writing any books, texts. Okay, no, those guys that wrote those books of the Bible, uh, they were inspired, and God was not the author. Okay, and that's why people get things so mixed up. Is that when they say author versus inspired? There's a distinct difference in the words author and inspired. All right. So the other thing is when
Oh
they
well,
quote.
we're about to close the space down.
Okay,
Go ahead
I
and
got
land your
you.
plane, bro.
I'm gonna land. I appreciate it.
Go ahead.
When Jesus said that you always had a poor among you, and all those things that he said, and said greater things that will you do than these things that he's done, didn't mean a greater miracle because how much more greater is a miracle of bringing somebody back to life? That's probably the greatest miracle ever, even beyond creating the cosmos. Probably bringing a person back to life is best you're gonna get. So when he said greater, he just meant more people. More people would do it instead of just himself. That's what he meant by greater. Okay. And I'm just saying this so you guys can consider it because it really doesn't matter to me whether you consider it or not. I'm just giving you a perspective as well as some of the others. Uh, anyway, I'm gonna land right there. Just give you guys something to think about, and we'll go from here. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you, Professor.
All right, housing. You got last words.
Yeah, I just wanted to say two things real quick. Hello, Wani, Professor Nikki.
Hey,
Uh, the it's not one scripture, right? One scripture on paper that we know of that talks about Hebrews in ancient time. Not one. And I'm gonna leave that. And one more thing. Uh, Malcolm X's wife, right? She lived in Wani. You like the word Yonkers. It's sad how she passed away. And they blamed it on her grandson. And I met him, I knew him. And it was sad how she passed away in a fire. And they took him out in Mexico, too. It was sad, you know. But I'm gonna land my plane. This room was well. It was going on. I loved it, and I like how you handled that guy, Wani. He was just basically blowing smoke. You had him all over the place, but he didn't know what he was talking about. Good night, everyone.
No cap.
housing.
I really enjoyed y'all
Good night.
tonight.
Housing.
Yeah. Good night,
I'm
housing, man.
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Housing. Can you say Yonkers one more time?
Yonkers.
I love it.
But yes, it was sad and like that. I met him. I met Malcolm X's son, and like, oh God, it was sad.
Yeah,
Mexico, they got him in Mexico.
yeah, they
He wasn't even supposed to be down there.
I'm gonna ask a question. I'm not gonna make a statement. Could it have been that they read those feet footprints, and saw the potential for a Messiah, and hadn't
Oh Lord.
and couldn't leave any possibilities?
He didn't know how powerful he didn't know how powerful he was.
It's a
That's the
mess.
sad part. He didn't know.
Saying my feety toes are over at the Vatican.
All of our feet or toes are over at
You
the
think
Vatican.
mine,
Oh no.
my big feet over there too, Professor?
All of
They weren't big then.
them.
But Wani, can I ask you one thing before we close?
Yes.
Again, and I asked this with my brother Macau. Is it one paper scripture about Hebrews in ancient time? One, is it?
Let me check. I'm gonna check for you. I want to be absolutely
After
sure.
now, this is before what's the name of that book the Jewish people read? The Torah,
The Torah.
Um,
the Torah. After
Torah,
that,
It's
before
another
Zohar,
one. I forgot the other ones. Hold on.
before that, that even came
The
out.
Talmud.
Zohar,
The Torah
Zohar,
and the Pentateuch.
The Talmud.
Gemara.
Yeah. So I was told that your feet
I think I can.
your feet leave
Think
a
I can.
your feet leave a constellation, like a star constellation, and the computers analyze all of them to find out, it's looking for some constellation. If they find it, they can cross reference all feet to find who they're looking for. Ladies and gentlemen.
I think Dale's mic was acting up, but we're gonna do maybe a part two
Oh yeah.
or something similar since this was a hot topic.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
it was. It definitely was, and I loved it.
Oh yeah, we'll bring this back tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed y'all. Lonnie, Wani, you had any last words?
Good night, everybody.
Nikki, any last words? Peace and blessings, y'all. I enjoyed y'all. And to close this out, I'm gonna have House and say Yonkers one more time.
Yonkers.
All right, we're out of here.